Kanpai!
Kanpai! I would drink, but apparently I've got to do an intro. So, welcome everyone to episode 159 of Kanpai Cast. Today's topic is our new big three, or how I pissed off the whole anime community. Thank you, Nasuth. Before we dive into the topic, we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do. So, the usual, like, comment, subscribe, YouTube stuff. Nasuth reads all your comments, eats them too, very much enjoys them, and if you do comment on the show, we will endeavour to read it out on the show if you say something really cool, which a lot of our community does.
Or really just in general.
As usual, all of the links for the relevant things are down in the description, and I feel like I actually let some people down last week because I didn't drop some links to the music videos that I talked about in the description. I may go back and do that, now that I'm on the topic. But then again, it may be late, and I may be dead. So, we've got the helpless lol. All right.
It's so random.
So, I know.
Well, it might be. I mean, a meteorite might land on the UK and,
Mm-hmm. Cleanse the world of all of its pain and suffering because of it. So, we are also hoping to do a lovely little topic coming up where we had to take suggestions from our audience for situations that we could be in. If we swapped roles, if we go into a isekai universe, if we, we dropped into this or that anime situation, what we do. And we want to hear your questions. What would you like to see us in the situation of? Is it going to be a situation where Nasuth has to hold his hand like this the entire episode? Something like that.
Oh, God.
But if you want to head to our Discord, again, links in the description, and drop some suggestions for that. There will be a thread, I believe, that Zena's going to put in, or Nasuth, to have a bit of a suggestion for that topic. And we look forward to anything you guys suggest. We may make a whole episode around it.
That's the dream.
And I think that is it for our housekeeping. So yes, don't forget to drop in if you're listening via the audio. If you want to see the memes, you can just jump straight to that timestamp because that is the best part of the episode. Come on over, make a little comment, and let us know how you feel about the audio version if you're listening. And
I'd say tell your friends, but you're a weeb, so you probably don't have friends. No, I'm kidding.
Tell your Reddit moderators. They may spread it around. All right, so on to the topic. Today's an odd one, because we've had big discussions about anime, and there have always come up, most of the time, in some way, the big three, as they're called. And those are the big three shonen shows, which are Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, with their forefather, Dragon Ball Z. And they've kind of held dominant on the front of the anime zeitgeist, the anime mainstream, for a long time. One Piece is still going, and it's on hiatus now.
I'd say now it's probably if it's just shonen, which I think we specifically discounted on our big three.
Discounted.
But if it was there, I think it would be Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, and One Piece.
Yes, that's what's currently going, what's there. Even though Bleach is making a comeback, it's still not the big three at the moment. But the topic just interested me in the idea of what if they were going to be big three from newer generations. As Nasuth pointed out for the shonen, it changed. That's not the big three anymore. There are new ones. There are sides to a certain genre, a certain aspect that represent different parts of it, in the same way that Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece did. One Piece being pirates, then ninjas, and then samurai with Bleach. There's different aspects, different ways to present shonen anime to the world. And if you didn't like one of them, but you still like shonen, you might like another. And you may have grown up with one but not the other, and not like them as much because you've watched the other ones and enjoyed them more. So what I proposed to the esteemed gentleman here was to
what
come up with
who
well, if you'd followed my advice,
gentleman.
If you'd followed my advice, you would be steamed.
Okay, yes.
To clear out your sinuses and help with your pores.
Excellent.
Anyway.
Still, the esteemed gentleman here was simply that, why don't we come up with big three based on newer anime and influential anime from the, about the 2010s onwards. I specifically chose the 2020s onwards for myself, but we didn't limit it so
I went a
much
little
to that.
old school, especially for one category.
And I forgot.
we each took a category, as it were. For example, fantasy, horror, isekai being its own genre of awfulness as well. And we've come up with three that we think are pillars of the genre itself at the moment. They may be replaced later.
So which 6 genres in total do we have?
Well, we have fantasy,
isekai.
Isekai.
Go ahead.
Yeah, fantasy, isekai. We have slice
sci-fi,
of life, horror, and sci-fi,
and historical. Yeah,
that's the last one. I'm trying to remember.
Strangely enough, I didn't get that. So I didn't take the historical one.
Yeah, we each did drafts for which ones we prefer to do, and my ones were stolen. But hey, no,
one of your ones was stolen.
I took isekai and slice of life. Zeno took fantasy and historical, and Nasuth took the remaining horror and sci-fi. And all of our stuff is up for debate. You can tell us in the comments what you agree with, what you don't agree with. We've brought a couple of honorable mentions to the table just in case, and I liked working within the limitations of the specific genres, and for myself, limiting myself to 2020 onwards also made me think far more about the responses I'd give, because they're probably the ones that are going to go on for the next few years until they're replaced by the next generation of things later on. So
one thing
where do we want to...
One thing I will add to this is I found this very difficult because a lot of fantasy is actually technically isekai. So what I went is okay, if there is an isekai situation, just flat out no, right? That's isekai. That's right. It has fantasy elements, but that's Thaylien's domain, not mine, right?
Exactly. For example,
I sort of have the same problem with horror.
Yeah, that's fair.
The thing is, it's very difficult to do slice of life that way because there is so much crossover now.
Yeah.
For example, I had to discard a slice of life because it is purely an isekai, but it's one of the most popular slice of life isekai in the world, which is farming life in another world, and that's purely it's an isekai,
where you're coming from.
it is purely slice of life for all of that, with all of the silliness, and so I did discard many that ran over. But at the same time, it did make us think in the box. And I do want to point out to everybody at home, we have done episodes of discussing fresh start to anime, the things we'd recommend to new viewers, and this isn't that. Okay, these are not ones we would recommend to new viewers necessarily. Some of these are more shows we'd recommend once they've had a more grounded basis in the anime as a whole. But they are what we believe hold up the different aspects of each genre as best as possible. Some of them even contrast, some of them are very similar.
So I'll also add in that I don't... Okay, so for me, there are options in fantasy that I kind of disregarded, right? It's Yeah, you could say that should be one of the top 3 fantasy anime out there. But personally, the amount of hatred and backlash that show's gotten, it's, you know, I just couldn't add it in. Like, to me, it doesn't end on any form of note that didn't make me want to vomit. So I couldn't put those in. But one thing I wanted to kind of start with is, like, what does the big 3 mean to the community on a whole? Because, like, I mean, this part of the conversation make us just go, oh, we should quickly divert and change our options and things like this. But, like, to me, the big 3 are what I would consider, first off, really long shows. I've never known a big 3 not to be a long-ass show. All right. Another side.
Well, that's only because the shonen, and shonen has this tendency to stretch things out to ridiculous degrees.
But not all shonen. Are even Shonen Jump shows. Not all Shonen Jump shows.
Not all, but most.
I'm not quite sure how many.
A lot of Shonen Jump shows.
The ones that don't usually get cancelled, right? The ones that don't get cancelled usually go on forever.
But even then, so a perfect example of why this is not true is Black Cat, right? Black Cat was a Shonen Jump that had 20 volumes and was done, right? And, you know, it had 1 season and was done, right? It was a really successful Shonen Jump. But there are loads of Shonen Jumps out there that don't just keep milking it, right? And,
yes.
Right, but I do...
Again, specifically because that's Shonen, they come up with the big 3 because they were long-running Shonen specifically, that was able to be serialized over and over and over. And the reason they called them the big 3 was because they were contrasts, not because they were all the same.
But I think the argument could also be made for staying power. So not just how long they ran, but how much they've stayed in the eye of fans, even if they were shorter.
Yes.
So
something like Fullmetal. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're saying
or Zeitgeist, maybe.
Yeah. So you don't have to have watched Dragon Ball Z, but you're still capable
going
of
to see
knowing the over 9,000 meme.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
That is the problem with this whole topic when you're breaking it down into genres, is that you won't find a lot of shows with that same longevity in terms of runtime, but you will find shows that are very emblematic of the genre, and so do have an accompanying stack of memes that make the show recognizable, a stack of references, and that you can feel that other shows are going to mimic or iterate on.
But why do you think that these shows aren't the top of anime charts? Like, you know, they're not the top of Mal, they're not the top of...
they are. Some of them are very near it.
That's because the general public is stupid.
No, I think it's because they aren't... Because by breaking it down by genre like this, you are automatically getting out of the mainstream.
True.
That's where I would get it.
Maybe these shows might top their individual genres without topping the charts overall. I'm not sure about that, but like, you know.
Well, I don't think that there is as much of a draw for horror as there is for the shonen stuff. And the same.
How long was Fullmetal Alchemist at the top of the charts, right? You know, Brotherhood.
2009.
Yeah, and that's, I wouldn't say that's
2023.
an extremely long show. You know, it's not like 10 seasons or something. It's not even 2 seasons. Well, maybe 2 seasons. So yeah,
we've got contrast that we've got a 2-core 1 season show that is topping it, or that did top in our list today.
Yep. Yeah. Although that's getting a second
the show that dethroned it. Yes. And so, yes, you will see these shows at the top of some charts, but you won't see them at the top of many of the overall charts, because to get to them, you have to be discerning enough in your viewership to look for other shows.
There's also probably a certain amount of younger users using these sites as opposed to older users who might skew the vote. Now, I know we're an exception. Yes. We're all old as fuck.
No, wait. But... So, Nasuth, are you saying that the newer generations aren't watching the likes of One Piece, Bleach and Naruto?
No. I'm saying that the people who do watch, the reason that some of these shows are at the top is because they're being skewed towards a younger audience who enjoys them.
Yes,
and that younger audience is using these sites, rather, so you're getting a self-selecting sample, for lack of a better word.
Yes. So the people that would watch Naruto back in the day are the same people watching Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia now.
Right, but none of those three are anywhere close to the top.
No,
right?
but
they're lucky to be double digits, if at all.
Yes, but that's the reason they are is because they are entry-level shonen.
Right, okay.
You see, to get away from that mainstream is to become a bit more discerning with what you're watching and go looking for anime. Okay, so that's where you end up starting to sort by the genre and look for what's popular within those, and get away from that mainstream era.
I'm really interested in this in and of itself, because I doom scroll while I've got nothing, I got a server compiling and shit like this, and I've got nothing to do for 5-10 minutes, so I'll start doom scrolling on Instagram or whatever, and then the second it's finished, I'll jump onto that. But the number of times I see these things what's the most popular? What anime has the most toxic community? Oh, it's My Hero Academia, My Hero Academia, My Hero Academia. Oh, One Piece, My Hero Academia.
Oh, I forgot about Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer should probably go in there somewhere.
Demon.
That's all just for the clickbait. It's all views. So you're doom scrolling, and I'm surprised they allow you the shotgun at work for doom scrolling. But still,
But my point is, though, that do you think that it's a case of the big three exist as the big three only in perpetuity of the fact that content creators are pushing this narrative of them being the big three? Because and they're just editing out what's not the big three.
There's certainly some of that.
Yes.
Because people are unfortunately easily influenced by these social media posts. I mean, it recently came out that it only takes 35 seconds to get for a kid to get addicted to TikTok. It's crazy.
Sorry, what?
No,
35 seconds.
Sorry. 35 minutes. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I instantly realized 35 seconds was too short.
One fucking TikTok.
Yeah. Depends on the TikTok reel. So, no. There has to be, at any point, because there's human nature, a ranking of the most popular. And so it is easy content bait to declare there to be a top three. And that's why we're doing this today. But
easy clickbait.
The trick is to be to do a top 10 and make some of them controversial. And that gives you the content. But there will always be a top three. Doesn't matter whether we rank them or not, somebody will.
I also wonder how many of these content creators genuinely watch One Piece, even though it's and the best anime of all time is One Piece. How much of One Piece have you do you actually watch One Piece? I'm just intrigued.
Yeah, I don't say One Piece is the top anime of all time, and I have watched most of One Piece. I need to catch up on the latest arc, but that's it. And I know that because it is riddled with shonen tropes all over.
Do you think that the remake that they're doing that's going to cut out a bunch of the filler? Do you think that one will be better?
I have actually watched One Piece. Well, not all of it, but One Piece of the first few arcs, and it makes for such a smooth watch.
Yeah.
By cutting out as many of the dead space areas where they hold for too long, specifically to like do narrative over the top of it, like on the last time kind of things, where they stop repeating scenes and then just do clean bits of the fight scenes. It makes it so much easier to watch, especially as a binge.
But do you think that even though the writing is still essentially the same, do you think getting rid of those things actually elevates it a little bit into a better show? Yeah,
those are some of the shonen tropes that negatively affect the watchability of One Piece. The fact that you have a 24-minute runtime to allow for ads in bits and pieces, and 10 minutes
of it.
Last time, next time, repeats of the same scene to refresh people's memory from last week. Commentary sections where they explain what just happened to the audience by way of the other characters talking over it and saying, what just happened? Oh no, Luffy just moved so fast that he did this. And yet you can just cut half of that because it doesn't matter. You can actually see it happen. Therefore, that's, not treating them like 4-year-olds and treating them like teenage anime watchers or older. So,
cool.
Yes.
Right. So I'm going to suggest this is what we do. First off, do we want to, we've spoken about what it means to be top 3, the big 3 of, just in general. Taking the opportunity, do any of you want to change any of yours after that discussion? I am fine with mine.
No, I'm going to stick with mine specifically because they go against the things we've pointed out of like long-running shows. They are, while some of them have the potential to go into multiple seasons, one of them has. I'm going to stick with what I've chosen specifically because of what they represent.
I think I will change one of mine.
Okay. So let's just have a quick pause.
No, we don't have to because I know exactly which one it is. It doesn't need to be swapped out. I'll just go to it in our list.
Okay, fine. So from here, what I would suggest is we say what our 3 are for each season, and then we kind of afterwards round robin, break it down. Why did we say this? Why did we say that? So on and so forth. How does that sound?
Sure.
Right. Now, Nasuth, while you're trying to pick out your alternative,
I've got it. It's here. I'm on it.
Okay. Do you wanna start so you don't forget?
Sure. So my horror ones, I did struggle with this one again because there's just I found it difficult to find a lot of really horror shows that I had watched personally. Like I can't talk about Tokyo Ghoul because I've never seen it. I can't talk about Parasite because I've never. Yes, that's the other problem I ran into is where a lot of shows were being billed as horror, and I'm like, is that though? Is it really? So I considered Junji Ito's Maniac, but that's kind of a weird anthology series. I don't know if that really counts. I settled on Ajin, Perfect Blue, and what was the other one? Mieruko-chan. But I'm dropping Ajin because that one is horrific in as much as you've got body horror, you've got being othered, you've got society seeing you as an outcast, you're an actual monster, that sort of thing. But I just don't think it has that staying power. Do you really know anyone who's actually seen Ajin? Have you seen Ajin?
No.
Yeah.
No, it popped up an awful lot on my recommended list, but I didn't actually feel. But
you've never actually watched it. Yeah. I have. It's pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. It's also got the English voice actor. The English dub has Little Karibo in it, which is kind of cool. So the one I'm switching that out for is Summertime Rendering, and I thought about this one a lot when I was putting this list together, because I don't exactly know where that one fits. It's part horror, but part sci-fi, but part mystery. So I don't know exactly where it fits, but I'm going to use that as my horror one instead of Ajin, just because I think it fits better. And then you said just list. I'll go into more detail later, but you said just list them for now.
Yeah, we'll just list them for now, and we'll go into more detail later. So your horrors are Summertime Rendering, Mieruko-chan, and Perfect Blue.
Yeah, right? Which is a classic, but okay. Yeah.
3 very different ones.
Do you want me to do the sci-fi now, or should we move to something else first?
Let's go Thaylien. Go Thaylien.
Okay.
Oh, for me? All right. So for my isekai ones, I went with Mushoku Tensei, Handyman Saitou, and KonoSuba.
Okay.
Interesting choices.
Okay. For my historical ones, I went with Apothecary Diaries, Golden Kamuy, and Vinland Saga.
Okay. I'm surprised you didn't go for Elusive Samurai.
It's good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the other 3 are better.
Cool.
Gets into your honorable mentions list.
Yeah, very easily.
Right. So my sci-fi are Steins Gate, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and I think it's Planetes. Kind of like Hercules. Planetes.
Planetes.
I always call it Planetes.
Planetes, yeah. It's the space one. About like space junk.
Mm-hmm. And then for my slice of life, I went with Bocchi the Rock, My Dress Up Darling, and Police in a Pod.
Interesting choice for the third one.
Well, he did go for everything that was in 2020 onwards.
True.
Yes. Right. It's a limiting idea, but at the same time, a fun one.
Yeah. And then for mine, I'm going for Made in Abyss.
Which genre is this?
For my fantasy. My fantasy, right? I'm going for Made in Abyss, Fullmetal Alchemist, Brotherhood, and Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Because, like, seriously, who
wouldn't these days?
Who wouldn't?
Would you believe that Fullmetal Alchemist was recommended to me as a sci-fi anime?
I would. Would you believe that Attack on Titan was recommended as a fantasy anime?
Well, yeah, I can see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic zombie anime, world. Yes, but also fantasy.
Sorry, what? Wait, did you just say High School of the Dead was fantasy?
No, I said post-apocalyptic zombie series, yes, but fantasy. I would agree with. For Attack on Titan.
Right. Anywho, right. So, who wants to go first in terms of their justifications for their things? Again, I'm happy to go first.
I can jump in.
Then go for it, Thaylien.
Okay, so I think I'll start off with my slice of life stuff because it's a little easier to. I've got more formulated thoughts on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Slice of life is a genre that's tricky to get into if you're not of that mind.
Mm-hmm.
But the key points of it are the ability to dramatize things that happen in everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's whatever setting that is, whatever walk of life you come in, you've got to be able to in some way relate to it and see that it is a system of events that happens day to day, and how people react to it, how that can feel like the biggest thing in the world at that time, because the story is small, so it allows the events to feel very, very big. And so I went with my choices because they represent 3 different stages of relatability in life. Bocchi the Rock is coming to terms with yourself. Okay, it's a show about the insecurities of somebody who is introverted and shy, and able to, it is able to dramatize the emotions going through the head of the main character. Okay? It addresses the issues that younger people are having right now. I mean, it is, Zeno and I both experienced the school life anime glut of the early 2000s. Everything was fucking school life. But that's because it's easier to make these stories feel more dramatic because of the age allows the story to be smaller. And again, making the events feel bigger. But it also addresses this whole idea that many young people are going through, where their world is bigger because of the internet. Okay, so the way that it deals with one person specifically coming to terms with themselves, finding out what they want to do in life, what makes them happy, what makes them scared, what makes them anxious, and meeting other people that can help them or get along with them, friends, companions, fellow enthusiasts, helping shape what you love in your head, what you really relate to. It's a small story. It's the progression of this one character, and everything in it feels immediate, feels bigger than it is, and that is a very powerful way of expressing that stage of your life.
Also, the fact that they are willing to use different animation styles and all that stuff really adds to something.
All of what I've said is not even getting into the actual content of the show.
Sorry.
It's not even getting into the content of the show. So that in itself makes things stand apart. You look at what's on screen, which you can't see if you're on the audio version. But she's literally sitting in a bin to represent how she's actually doing it. She feels like she should be in that scene, and the way the show presents itself, the way that the anxiety and shyness all spark off to make her mind fritz out, to feel, the animation is not afraid to suddenly turn CG and transform her into a car that just careers off the road and crashes, because that's how she feels in that moment. It dramatizes that feeling in the head, and it shows it in a way that only fast-paced animation can, with these jokes that can only be expressed
or really bizarre animation, like when Bocchi fritzes out and just becomes jagged lines, or when she turns into a 3D TV model static and goes careening through the air.
Yep, that's exactly it. These madcap things can only be expressed in the animated medium. It would take so much CGI to do it in a live action. It just wouldn't work.
It wouldn't have the same energy.
We've seen that kind of thing as far back as early, like, Tom and Jerry cartoons, early Popeye cartoons, where showing the joke through some kind of completely unrelated imagery. Popeye eating spinach, flexing his muscle, and seeing the Rock of Gibraltar reflected in his bicep. That kind of silliness. But
this one takes it further than a lot of anime. I know I keep butting in. I'm sorry.
No, fine.
Because in a lot of anime you might get weird faces or some super deformed chibi characters, but they don't really usually go to the same extent that Bocchi does with its crazy internal visualizations of her internal problems. And I love that. I love that for them.
It really does actually make, again, it's that whole concept of making the small event feel so much bigger, because in the character's head, it really is. It is the most urgent thing. It will make a quiet person go hide in a corner because in their brain they are freaking out. Okay, especially with an introverted person. Yes,
I feel one of the really interesting things of this. So I was watching a Hot Ones interview with Peter Dinklage, And he was talking about tragedy and comedy in Shakespearean plays and things like this. And he highlighted the fact that in some cases, comedy is just well-timed tragedy, right?
Oh, yes.
And I feel that Bocchi is a perfect example of this, right? Everything about Bocchi herself is kind of a tragedy in and of herself. But you know what she goes through and everything, but the way it's framed, the way it's timed, the way it's implemented, like the author understood, or the screenwriters really understood the assignment on how to do it. Like I think it was so right on now we have a screenshot from when post Bocchi trying to skive off work, and for the first time, like the first day she's like, oh, I can't go, like because her anxiety's kicking her where it hurts, and she's like, I'm sorry, I can't come in. And then she goes for the first day, she does a fantastic job, and then genuinely gets sick. And I remember the reaction from Loz and Nasuth. They were both laughing and going, oh, at the same time. And it was, it was genuine and pure,
Because it's so relatable.
Exactly
yeah.
And I think that's one of the most important parts of slice of life is the relatability. Having it just set in a school classroom, that's not relatable to
that's probably
so
why
many
I hate so much of it, because I don't relate to people.
Yeah,
well, I think it's beyond just people, but but it is. It is. You don't relate to these kids in the school life anymore because, like, you've not been.
It's been 30 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Right. But that's why making something about introversion and shyness can really resonate, because many people are actually far more introverted than they want to admit as well. And even if they're not, that panic can still set in when something happens, something unexpected that throws you off your game. And even the most confident people, they can skive off work and then get actually sick, and that's something relatable as well. Okay. So
should we move on to the next one?
I was going to say, the next one I've got up is My Dress Up Darling. And this is, for me, the next step in that progression of life that slice of life has to do. These are older teens that are addressing completely different issues to just finding yourself. This is finding what you want to do. This is going out into the world and embracing what you love and taking it forward.
Taking your hobby and turning it into a passion.
Yes, but it's not just that. Think about the things that the characters in My Dress Up Darling actually do deal with. Gojo in particular, he's dealing with the fact his grandfather is aging. He's dealing with the fact that he wants to become a Hina doll creator and is not doing so well. He feels he's not doing well. He's got skills, but no friends. And that is actually very relatable to those introverts again. Okay, but also something that even the confident people that had made friends in school, they could relate to the idea that if they'd concentrated on something as hard as they could, they wouldn't have made those friends. They can appreciate, no, I'm lucky because I went out and I made these friends. And they can then sympathize with Gojo for not having made friends because they can put themselves in his shoes just a little bit. But then he's shown something else. He's shown an option that he didn't have before, which is a friend coming into his life and showing appreciation for what he does, and
an
forming
extrovert
a
dragged him out
relationship.
into public.
Yes, which again, a lot of introverts can really recognize. Every introvert needs an extrovert to drag them out into places. But he then addressing the next stage where Bocchi is finding who she is as a person. Gojo feels he knows who he is.
Sorry, you said Bocchi. I think you meant Marin. Yeah, just to be clear.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I was like, no. It's no.
Oh, you're comparing Bocchi to Gojo. Okay.
Yes, Bocchi as a character is finding out who she is. She's
right.
grasping that who she is and forming herself as a person. By contrast, Gojo feels he knows who he is. He wants to be a Hina doll maker. He wants to go there, and he wants to take over his grandfather's shop because his grandfather is sadly aging and getting a little creaky. But then he's shown Marin, who is now this force in his life, and he's finding love, which is the next stage in people's development, is forming meaningful relationships that they hope will last, and bringing somebody else into their immediate circle as family. And that's always a very intensely personal process. There are very few people that don't remember their first love. Okay, and that's usually for very specific reasons. I know I still do. Wherever she is out there. Because it is that awakening of feelings that you previously didn't have. And it's intense. And you see that in the show. From when Gojo thinks that he wants to do his best to help out Marin do her first cosplay, and he works flat out to help make her cosplay for the next event that's going to be there, thinking that she wanted to go to that event. But at the same time, his grandfather is ill, and he has to watch the store, and they've got exam season. And he works himself to the bone to fulfill the thing, all these almost self-imposed pressures on his life. Because if he wasn't so studious, he wouldn't work so hard at doing his exams. He'd just try to blow through them easily like other students do. If he wasn't so conscientious, he would close up the shop and not mind it while his grandfather was out. And if he was more callous as a person, he wouldn't care as much that his grandfather had gone had a fall and had to go into the doctors for a bit and stay over with his family for monitoring. And he could have thrown it all away and just worked on Marin's cosplay, but he didn't. He tried to work through all of it because, theme again, making the small event feel larger because it's a small story. And all of these events seem to completely take over his whole life, and you see it. You see the character go through it. You see the exhaustion on his face as he laughs afterwards and takes a nap on the way home from the convention because he's tired. He's worked really hard at it, and you could see the impact on Marin as his sleepy words kind of hit home, and you see how she's just shining from having been able to go on this trip with Gojo and actually experience cosplay life for the first time. And that just makes this whole thing bright and wonderful as a show.
I want to highlight something that I feel has been missed a bit, which is the desperation in Gojo. Like, when Gojo finally gets someone that appreciates his desire for a passion, right? It doesn't share the same passion, but it's like, it's okay to be passionate about something, be creative about a hobby. He wanted to hold on to that to the point of a detriment to himself, right? To the point of, yes, okay, come check out the Hina Museum. I'll make sure we're open, even though my grandpa's in the hospital and I've got my exams. He takes on too much, right? And he does everything within his power to make sure that he doesn't upset anyone to his own detriment.
He has an inability to say no.
Yeah, he is a huge people pleaser, right? Absolutely massive one. But we start off with this very sharp high to then fall into a very bad low and then gradually come back to a place of happiness. And I think that's one thing that the show really does well, narratively speaking.
Yes. Now, I love that you brought that up. I love the fact you brought up how desperate he is to fulfill these roles that he's giving himself, and all because he's found somebody that wants to be his friend because of what he loves, as much as because of who he is. So, and I love the fact they make absolutely clear from the very first time we're introduced to Marin that she is that kind of person. You know, somebody comes in and starts, and they're talking about negging as a concept, where, you know, say, I can't believe you like that, but, you know, it's cute that you do that kind of thing. Is it? Why are you insulting what I like? And, you know, her turning down somebody because he made fun of something she enjoyed, and it's somebody she's living literally with her heart on her sleeve almost, because she just wants to enjoy what she enjoys, and people that want to insult her for it aren't worth her time. And so when she finds something she likes, when she sees somebody talented and putting in the effort, like Gojo, she wants to be friends with him because he's doing what he loves. And it makes it very, very interesting as a contrast between the two characters. Gojo doing what he loves to the detriment of himself, and Marin doing what she loves despite others. So I love the contrast, and I love the fact that, yes, you can... I don't love Zeno dying in the background. Sorry for any audio people out there.
No, I muted it my side, but I couldn't mute it on Discord.
Oh, good. So the inspiration Gojo has, stemming from the fact he has never made a friend in that sense. He's always been doing this to the detriment of himself, and he's being brought into that idea that he can do the stuff he loves and have friends and have people that he can relate to in some way, or who will appreciate what he does. That's exceptionally powerful, and it makes me genuinely sad to realize that so many people out there in the audience watching this show, watching My Dress Up Darling, can really relate to that. And maybe they haven't found their Marin, their person that appreciates them for what they do and wants to be friends with them. But that is incredibly powerful for many, many people.
There.
So yeah, that's second of the big three of this genre for me. And the third is Police in a Pod, because I feel this is the third part of the progression of Slice of Life, because it's once you've found what you want to do and you're in the workforce. Okay, this is the show where somebody has taken the training, taken the time to become what they wanted. This is no longer your childish, I want to be an astronaut. No, this is a person that's genuinely set out to become a police officer and has gone into it, gone through the training, and found that the job can feature things that aren't for them. You know, paperwork, repetitive tasks. And it's only through interacting with somebody that actually enjoys what they do, is there because they enjoy this as an inspiration to them, that they then start finding more of a place in their life and start enjoying their work. You know, and they regain that little bit of their enjoyment that was shaved away by the everyday drudgery. So I love this show specifically because it's an adult cast of people doing an adult job, and still being that slice of life comedy with a little bit of drama thrown in, just to make it more interesting. So you've watched this one as well. Yeah. So how well would you say it describes the kind of working experience?
I'd see this is in part the problem. I don't know if it does a good job, because it does try to give levity to the situation, right? I feel that
it's like watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine and expecting it to be realistic.
Exactly.
Yes, right? That's true. Yeah.
So I feel that the problem here, that when it comes to a lot of slice of life, is you either have comedy, tragedy, and that's it. There's no like down to earth show. Like no one is entertained by that, because we live that every day, right? So I feel that in some places where there is more comedic elements, that wouldn't exist in like a good representation, right? But I think I do feel that an audience doesn't want an accurate representation. They want entertainment, right? And if the choice is comedy or drama, I'm 100% for comedy. 100. Like I'd much rather comedy than. And even though the show does tackle some really sensitive
to be clear,
points,
that's only in your slice of life, though, right? You prefer comedy in your slice of life to drama, or do you mean just in general?
I prefer in general. Like I get sick and tired of a minor tangent. I've been watching Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone in it, right? I'm already fucking bored.
Well, there's your problem. You're watching Sylvester Stallone.
No, but regardless of that, it's just like, why is there this need for such an excessive drama, right?
Yes.
Why? Okay, yeah. Oh, but they're bad guys, and you gotta be dramatic. It's like, why? Everything, right? It's. So if I had a sci-fi, would I rather it more comedic or more dramatic? More comedic. If I had
that's fair, because like Farscape is one of your favorites, and that's got a lot of comedy in it. I mean, it's got a lot of drama too, but
Galaxy Quest. Yeah, Galaxy Quest is pure comedy
Stargate.
As a sci-fi,
yes, it is.
Right? Stargate SG-1, loads of comedy in it. Stargate Universe, drama. Fucking hated the first season of Stargate Universe, right?
So. Yeah,
is it fair to say you don't mind drama, or you like drama if it's balanced and not overwrought?
Yeah, but show me a good example of that.
If it's logical drama.
Farscape has drama in it, and I'm sure you like those dramatic moments.
They're alright.
Yes. Not stupid levels of drama like where the ones where they don't say something, and so everybody takes it wrong, and so everybody goes away unhappy.
Or when there's constant escalation. Oh, everything is a universe-ending problem. But now we faced the universe-ending problem, so now we have to face the multiverse-ending problem.
Well, no, one of my favorites was...
But specifically for drama.
One of my favorites was 24 for this, right? So... 24 was a once a week 45-minute show that covered 1 hour, right? So we had 24 episodes in a season, right? And it just escalated. And I loved the number of webcomics that ripped the crap out of it just by going 7 a.m. to 7:05. And it's just one character on the toilet going taking a shit. And it was just like... but like seriously, like the guy's like not eating. He's just, he's on the phone. It's driving like a lunatic. I'm on the phone. We gotta do this thing. The thing. It gets tiring.
No, so I appreciate where you're coming from on that. I feel that you're half right though.
Yeah,
because it's not just what the comedy that people want or the drama that people want. People want a story in slice of life.
I argue the opposite.
I think that with slice of life, even on the, if it is just on the micro level of like.
Oh, are we talking good slice of life versus just your average
pretty much.
Okay,
it's fine if it's done well.
Okay.
So hold on. Are we saying? So maybe not story.
People
right?
want story in their slice of life, but what they get is
progression.
Slop.
I mean, it's there you go. So like Gojo making a costume. That's not really a story, but that's progression. Yeah. Okay.
But you can see actually the fun thing about that one is you can actually see character progression and development in that thing. The same with Bocchi. Okay, and this is why I count them as very good slice of life and the big three of this slice of life area that I'm in. Police in a Pod, there is a relatable character progression through our main character being drawn back into their work. You can see their ground down, and then they're being drawn back in by somebody who inspires them. And the comedy they come up with is what I would call inter-office comedy. Okay, like in my job, when I'm sat at my desk, I can hear the conversations going along in the customer service and sales department, and they'll make some silly statement, and I'll pop my head around the wall to look in through the open office there, and one-line zing somebody to get a laugh, and you could see that happening in a show like this, where there is a character that just like sits just off screen and then pops their head in for the comedy bit. And I like being that person in the office, and it's a similar kind of thing, where they have the similar kind of commentary from the different offices. But
I feel like this has a lot in common with Bullbuster in terms of comedic elements and that office drama. The only difference being that they're using mechas instead of to do construction, to do pest control. So
one thought I have, and this may be a more accurate representation of Japan, but I don't know about you. I've worked in plenty of places where someone has had a conversation in a public office space that is just like, what the fuck is this conversation? Right? This isn't a work-related conversation. This is, I'm bored. Let's talk about some random inane shit. And again,
that's usually me.
I remember going to the water cooler, getting myself a drink. Someone from sales literally spun around on their chair, going, "Hey Zeno, would you ever eat human meat?" And I'm like, no. What if it was an arm? No. The amount of complications and diseases and shit like that come with cannibalism is insane.
If I knew I was guaranteed to not get a prion disease, maybe, but otherwise no.
Right. But here's the big thing though. It's like I've never seen I've never seen in any slice of life, be it anime or otherwise,
talking about a slice of actual life.
No, I mean just this random off-the-wall conversation.
I got you, Thaylien. I got you.
Yeah, no, I get it. Right, but like, I've never seen it where they've had a conversation that's just completely, what the fuck have I just walked into? Right?
Yeah.
I wonder, do they have that in Japan? I'm genuinely intrigued.
Surely they must.
I
swear we've had a scene like close to that in Kobayashi, but that's just because.
Really?
Shit's zany, yo.
I don't remember a conversation like that in
the
Kobayashi.
Closest I think that we've got would be in The Masterful Cat, where we see the tail end of a conversation that they were having be interrupted by something, and they suddenly start talking about plot-related or character-related. Oh yeah, don't you think this guy is so hot? I heard you went to his party or his daughter's party or something like that.
Right, okay.
So it's not in anime because these kind of conversations are so genuinely off the wall. So yeah, I can get that. because they have to script the conversations, they don't evolve in the same way that natural speaking does. And I feel that there must be, because I have seen.
I'm sure it's happening in The Office. Both the UK and the US version.
Probably, yes. Those prank shows where they're filming somebody when something's going to happen and prank them, and they'll have the people having a chat about something, and it will be something inane, usually, like a TV show they were watching, and of course, those shows can get overly silly, and then you'll see the conversation bounce off to maybe a hypothetical. So, hey, what would you do if you were in that situation, kind of thing? And then they'll go over the top, like, oh, absolutely, I would blow the competition away. Yeah, fuck off, you would.
Yeah.
Now let's insert the honking noise.
God. Should we?
But yeah, this is so. Just to sum up, I would say, Bocchi the Rock, My Dress Up Darling, Police in a Pod.
I like what you did there with the progression of like age and stuff. That was a good theme.
So my honourable mentions for the genre, of course, were Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, because I limited myself to 2020 and up, with that being 2017. I also enjoyed The Way of the House Husband, Urusei Yatsura, Kamuy Can't Communicate. These they're all similar vein, different stages of life, but making the small story so that events in it feel bigger and more dramatic, or more important.
The Way of the House Husband is hilarious.
It is. I love it. Again, Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, also hilarious. Komi, hilarious.
And relatable. Well, to some degree, anyway.
Except it's a school anime again.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember being in school, but yeah.
At some point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, wearing the tartan skirts and everything. It's strange.
Right. I think it's.
So that's I've taken up way too much time on that one.
Right. Okay. Right. So I'm going to move on to historical.
Oh, sure. Okay. No, go ahead.
What?
Go ahead. No, nothing.
What is this sass? Big sassy boy. Right. And the first one I'm going to pick, which... Oh, no, it wasn't. It was this one. Vinland Saga. Right. I originally clicked on Kanpai. No, Vinland Saga was so far removed from the top of any list, I was really shocked by this. And I'm also going to, because the episode is running long already, start imposing a timer. Right.
Apologies.
It's fine. But to me, Vinland Saga had this excellent comprehension of the world around it. The fact that they had to sail these seas that were often deadly. They had to get from location A to location B. Like, when they were sailing across the seas to invade different lands like England or Britannia, they were going to be there for years at a time. And they had to work out what was required to do this. They had a very strong, solid comprehension, not only of, British terrain, but London in its early concepts, right? Of a town, let alone a city, right? And how they would invade. You have Thorfinn, who was basically this kid that was learning everything he could from the antagonists that were also kind of the protagonists, just so that at one point in time he could backstab his leader for killing his own father, or killing Thorfinn's father. And again, there was a very is what feels like a very accurate representation when it comes to Viking society, right? Unlike Japanese society, where it's all very honorable, very noble, like, you know, before I ask you for your name, I shall present you my name. Viking society is like, oh, look, that's ours now. Okay, thanks, bye. We take that, you know. And I feel that, you know, given the other options that was presented to me on websites like Anime Planet and My Anime List and things like that, I was like, nope, Vinland Saga deserves to be way, way, way higher in this. The animation's excellent.
I'm curious what some of the other ones were that you rejected.
Attack on Titan.
That came up as a historic... Okay.
Yeah. Fullmetal Alchemist.
It's not our world, is it?
Just because they have history doesn't make them historical. Jesus.
I know.
We did this last week. We did history within anime, and just because they have an explained history doesn't make them historic.
Yeah,
this one. So, yeah. It's amazing how often Attack on Titan kept on cropping up.
Revenger is more historically accurate than Attack on Titan.
In general, not just on the websites, just. It's amazing how much Attack on Titan just keeps cropping up. They keep making final seasons.
This is still fantasy.
We can. You don't have to
there was also Kingdom, right? But Kingdom is not one that I've actually seen. Demon Slayer appeared a lot, and even though I like Demon Slayer, it's nowhere near finished, and is more on par with a just shut your brain off. Let's watch.
The history in that one's kind of incidental.
Yeah.
And also not accurate.
Yeah. Castlevania was on there. And I'm like, what?
Well, technically, Castlevania, the original, was set in actual historical Europe.
Well, yeah, but regardless, I think the supernatural themes kind of trump it by leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Demon Slayer. You know it's not a proper historical thing because Michael Jackson did not exist back then.
Yep. Anyway. So yeah, Vinland Saga I think is an excellent pick for this, and is
agreed.
You know, I know loads of people, loads of content creators and everything have hyped Vinland Saga, and not enough people have watched it. It is quite brutal. I haven't seen the second season. I really want to. I might actually make the time to go watch it, watch the first season again. But that was certainly one of the ones that I picked. The next one.
How's a Viking approach you? Excuse me, can I ask you a question?
Oh my god, I knew that was coming.
But there, how much comedy is in there, huh?
Not much at all. Not much at all. But I get where you're coming from.
But the drama is actually very accurate, so it's fine. Yeah.
Well, not just that. It's just not massively escalating every 5 seconds. I mean, there are funny parts in it where basically they need to attack some town inland, and they decide, do you know how we're going to do this? We're going to run at them while carrying our ships.
Options.
You can't.
Yes.
You can't not laugh at that, Nasuth. You have to laugh at that. It's crazy. There you go.
Everyone grab your ship and go.
Okay. Right, so the next one I wanted to talk about, which after looking at the list again, actually no, Golden Kamuy is actually lower on the list than all the other ones. Golden Kamuy is one of the ones that I wanted to talk about in terms of historical representation and relevance. There's one of the best parts of Golden Kamuy is how much you learn about historical Japan and things. How, Japanese society wasn't just one people. It was actually a very diverse subsets of people that ultimately got won out by one specific clan. Right.
I was going to say the best part was the I thought you were going to say the best part was the semen fight, but okay, sure, yeah.
But it's not even Britain did that. Britain's still like 3 or 4 separate clans.
Yeah.
The English, Scottish, the Welsh, and the Irish.
Yeah. And there is actually a part of modern day Japan you can go to where is it Anu? I think they're called the Anu.
Mm-hmm.
The Anu tribe still exists, right? But regardless of this, it was really interesting seeing how much representation there was in
like their native practices and the interactions with the Europeans and there's a lot of I need to catch up with it myself, but there's so much stuff in there that's just these little touches that give you insight into their lives and their history. And
also because it's North Japan and it's very, very cold, right? A lot of people don't realize like what kind of climate North Japan faces during winter periods, right?
A lot of people think it's more like Hawaii and further south, and so warmer, but it's really not. I mean, it's not a huge area, but it is a long, thin, tall place. So you do get some variation. Yeah,
you got a lot of variation.
Japan's weather would be pretty much what the British Isles would have if we did not have the Gulf Stream to warm us up in the winter. It's very Scandinavian. It's got the same snow cycle as North Sweden and similar places. So
down in South Japan, they don't face this at all. It
gets stupid hot in the summer. It gets stupid hot in South Japan.
Yeah. But in North Japan, it gets really fucking... And they have to, the tricks that they employ in this on how to survive is really cunning and clever. Like, one guy is, just in case of an emergency, he's carrying a bullet around in his mouth. He and someone else ends up falling in a river... freezing river, and they have to get out and they have to warm themselves up really quickly. They were enemies to begin with, but they ended up dismantling the bullet to get the gunpowder to light a fire quickly enough so that they wouldn't freeze to death, right? Which again is absolutely excellent as a show, right?
What
in those kind of survival situations
in terms of Japanese culture is the buildings that they have where they had the paper walls and things in their houses, but had the double layer of them. So the internal part of the house had the paper walls, and the external had paper walls with wooden shutters, specifically for their winters, because that outer porch, they would close that entirely off, and it would insulate the building by being this giant
windows
space.
Where there's a little tiny gap between them, and that because cold has a harder time traveling through air.
Through still air, specifically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And so they would do the same thing. It would be an insulating layer, so they would warm up the interior of the house, and they wouldn't lose that heat because there was an insulating layer between them and the outside wall of that corridor space. And so they would slide open the door, go through the corridor where it was cold to get to another room, and then get back in where it was warm again. And that whole design was designed because they have these harsh winters.
So again, you like seeing how the world works, seeing how it all functions. It's all fantastic. It's all brilliant. I love every aspect of this. Like some of the stuff that you learn about the cultural significance of the Ainu, compared to, you're seeing it from the perspective of a Japanese man that has never experienced it before. It's fantastic. I love every part of it.
Yep, it's a good one. It's a really good one.
But conscientious of time. Moving on to...
And it's also just a fun treasure hunt story on top of it.
Oh, yeah. But moving on to my last one is Apothecary Diaries. And this show is just fantastic through and through.
But would you say it's actually historically accurate? I mean, in as much as they, all the palace politics and stuff, yeah, sure. But
the way they figure things out, yes.
I think it is. I'll grant. I'll go ahead and say
character representation. I think I really like this show because the character representation shows Japan's way of they over-exaggerate their differences.
I don't necessarily think it's accurate the way that she goes from being a servant to,
Apothecary?
Yeah, well, I mean, she was already, but
more influential.
A trusted member of the court per se. But since when is something like Cinderella historically accurate either? You want to have that that sort of arc.
If they had played it as them bringing them in and bringing her in,
taking it over from
specifically, if they played it as bringing her in specifically because she's a new outsider and they can influence her, that would have kind of politically made sense. But with the way she just becomes trusted, and I can see how you'd find that a little jarring. But back to Xeno, because this is Xeno's show.
Yes. Well, I absolutely. One of the things that I liked the most about the narrative of Apothecary Diaries is the representation of, I suppose, a woman's place in society, right? The woman can't be seen just telling men, like, oi, this is the answer. Mao Mao has the challenge of leading whomever she is engaging with to the conclusion that she made 12 steps ago, right? And
making them think it's their idea.
Exactly. Making, when... Oh, God, what was it? One of the tricks that she reveals is the fact that... So, a guy... the doctor. They have a doctor. His family has a paper press company, right? But the quality of the paper has gone down in years. And originally, it was all done by hand. People would do it and everything. But then they got oxen involved who could handle big, heavy machinery, so on and so forth. But she realized the problem is more likely, the reason why the paper's deteriorating so quickly, is that the oxen are drinking from the same water that is used to produce the paper. And the oxen's saliva is mixing in with the water. Now, the people would also drink from the water, but they drank from a cup. But they'd use
cups and stuff. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, whereas the oxen would drink directly from it, so their saliva was mixing in. She worked this out, like, nearly instantly. But she had to spend a little bit trying to allude as to why the paper was falling apart. She couldn't just outrightly just tell someone...
You fucking idiot! You're just gonna let the oxen from it.
And even though it would have been nice to see someone punished for, a woman being punished for being outspoken, right? At the same time, the punishment would probably be death, right?
It's the way that they dance around that point, kind of hammers home every time she does it, that she can't. That it would be so much easier if she could just tell them. But the fact that she can't, and the fact that she, who is very smart, has to do it that way, proves that she is smart enough to not get punished in the way that other people would be.
Yeah. The different tricks that, watching people play to get out of social obligations that otherwise they were tied to was absolutely fantastic. Like, everything about this show was so damn good. And I would argue, had Frieren not come out the same time as Apothecary Diaries, Apothecary Diaries would have trumped all the charts, right? But no, Frieren came out at the same time, and I'm glad that Apothecary Diaries is getting a second season. I believe next year. OLM, producing studio of Apothecary Diaries. Don't pull a blue lock, please. Really, please. But yeah, so I think this is fantastic.
No, I agree with your choices.
Yeah,
and honorable mentions for it.
In all honesty, in terms of historical stuff, honorable mentions would have been Dororo, right? And Elusive Sam. Dororo? Dororo.
Do it again. It's funny with your accent.
Okay. Elusive Samurai. And so I'm on Anime Planet. It's just like Drifters.
Drifters.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no,
okay.
actually no. Sorry. No, Drifters is an isekai, so you can't. Yeah, it can't be Drifters. Honestly, that's as far as the list goes, because like, yeah.
Samurai Champloo.
That's not even on here.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Blue-Eyed Samurai.
Nasuth, what you got for us?
Right, let's start with the horror. Let's get the horror out of the way. And let's go ahead and start with Summertime Rendering, since I've been on this page for a while now. Thinking about it, this kind of has a few things in common with Ajin, with the shadow people. But so the horror in this one it builds up really slowly until it suddenly hits you all at once in the first episode, I think. Yeah. Where everything just seems normal, sure, there's a girl that died, but and there might be a mystery around that, but it seems like it's just going to be a mystery show, and for a good chunk it really is. Let's face it, horror and mystery kind of go hand in hand, but for the most part in the first episode, it's treated very normally. It's treated like, yeah, she died, maybe there's something a little weird about it, but probably not. And then all of a sudden, that switch flips at the festival when the shadows show up and start just killing everyone. But our main hero runs into one on the staircase, and it is his adoptive sister, right? And it's this horror of somebody that looks exactly like you, or like somebody you know and love and care of, family, friends, loved ones, and the subtlety of them actually not being who it's sort of like the Body Snatchers, right? There was an old movie called The Body Snatchers where things came from space and started just replacing people.
Yep.
And it's that sort of subtle terror of the unknown person that looks just like what you would expect. And obviously that horror develops.
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah. Obviously that horror develops as we go on. We also get the horror of Heine, who just seems like a little girl, like a lost little child, and yet she's got this intense evil in her that she can unleash. Like when in one of his loops, there's a point where she looks directly at him and she's like, I found you, and reaches out and grabs his arm and brands him. And it's like, he thought he was safe. He thought these loops were fine and he was safe and she couldn't hurt him. And all of a sudden now she's tracking, now she knows exactly where he is. She can see him during these loops. She knows what he's doing. And that adds a whole new level of well, crap, now what do I do? How do I outsmart this person who is now tracking my every move? I am no longer the hunter, I am the prey, sort of thing. Yeah, I love the way this show handles the shadows, because
the ongoing desperation.
Yeah.
I agree with everything Nasuth said, and I think the fact that one of the things that the show does its best is the fact that you think you have an understanding. So you are experiencing the show as much as the main character is. So he learns stuff, and at the same time is the audience is learning stuff. But when you have the rug pulled out from under you, and they do it well each time, that's a really well thought out narrative, and it is one of the better options. Like, for example, I wouldn't have I prefer, out of the two shows between this and Steins Gate, I prefer Steins Gate, but that's on a sci-fi level, right? And that's sci-fi. It's like Steins Gate doesn't have the horror element to it at all, right? But
So something I always wanted to point out when I heard of it, the uncanny valley reflex people have. Okay, all of our instincts come from having experienced something in our past, as a humanity, where something was a danger to us. Okay, things that we react badly to: spiders, insects, snakes, reptiles. We get these reactions because these things used to be predatory to us as a species. And what do you think could be the reason that we have such a strong reaction to something that looks like us, but is not like us?
Skinwalkers, obviously.
Obviously.
That's why every culture has a story of a doppelganger.
Yep.
Right. Shall I move on to the next one?
Go on.
Please.
Yeah, let's do Mieruko-chan. So in this one, the horror is much more obvious, like right from the get-go, right? You've got this girl who suddenly starts seeing the most horrific ghosts just out and about. But while in Summertime Rendering, they're meeting that horror face on. They're coming up with plans to stop it, to fix it, to get rid of it somehow. She goes the opposite direction, and she chooses to try and ignore it. And so you get these incredibly tense moments where it's like, can she do it? Will she be able to? Like in this scene right here, she lifts up her covers, and there's a ghost in the bed with her, right? And it's like, how do you pretend that's not happening when it is literally laying on your stomach? And the fact that she's the only one who can see them, no one else can see them. It isolates her. It puts her in her own little world where only she is privy to the horror. And that sense of being, that's one of the reasons I was going to put Ajin in, right? It's the isolation, the lack of a support structure, the fact that you're the only one who can face. I mean, Ajin had a little bit of a support structure, but and she wants to try and protect other people at the same time, and they can't see it, because it's just obviously most of the horror comes from the ghosts themselves, the strange way they look, the strange ways they behave, but there is still that subtle underlying horror of being kind of at their mercy in how she reacts to them.
So no, you're absolutely right. So some of my worst fears growing up were the idea of my personal space being invaded by something that I could not influence. I've never had a sleep paralysis demon, as many people claim to have experienced, but it's very similar, the idea that something's in your room with you and you cannot move.
I was actually going to make that comparison,
Yeah, and where she's having to pretend to be paralyzed by the sleep paralysis demon, basically, in every moment of her life. So she can't react, she can't move, she can't do anything about it. And those little ones, those ones I could not prevent myself from reacting, which is why this one did actually get to me in the first couple of episodes, so I stopped watching. This wasn't particularly horrifying in and of itself, the things I saw, just how they can be in places and insisted on being in places that would, in my real life, have absolutely got to me.
Yeah.
You know,
I really need to go to the bathroom. And so you go to the bathroom and there's a ghost sitting on the toilet. Do you sit on top of it? Do you just pretend that you don't need to go to the bathroom after all? You know, what do you do in that situation? If you sit on top of it, is that going to be a problem? Is that going to hurt you? You know, it's so creepy. So creepy.
Out of interest, Nasuth, did with Mieruko-chan, did it ever cross your mind at all that maybe this girl is psychologically unsound, and it's not a case of she's experiencing all this stuff, it's a case of it's all in her head?
Of mental
yes.
But
except that it essentially gets confirmed by other characters to be real.
Right, okay, that's fine.
Eventually. But I mean, they could. One of them one of them may be her hallucinating them, saying it's real, and the other one may be a Chinibyo who's playing along, who's like, you know, oh, you're seeing something weird. I see it too, even though they don't. You know, the show presents them as actually seeing it though, so I can only really go on what I'm shown. Yeah. But that would be a creepy interpretation that she's just kind of lost her mind a little.
Would be worse.
Yeah.
That it's all real and she's just reacting to it in the right way, or that it's all in her head and there are other people that just want to help, or trying to help, and aren't, because they're confirming her mental bias instead of getting her the requisite help she needs.
Yeah.
So I think I'd rather it all be in my head, because at least that I could get treatment.
At least there's potential help for that. Well, I mean, they do offer some potential help towards the end, where like the blonde haired girl that we're seeing right now, she has an aura that can kind of like fix this stuff, and if she gets trained properly, and blah 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 blah. I don't think we'll ever see a season 2 though, so who knows?
Yes. All right, and your third one.
So the third one is a classic. It's hard to talk about horror without talking about Satoshi Kon and Perfect Blue, which is just... I mean, this is a classic. This is from the 90s. Don't get me wrong. Yes. It is old. But people still talk about it. It still has that staying power that we talked about in the beginning, where, you know, there are few things I have seen that have gone above and beyond in the way that Perfect Blue has to show the breakdown of a person, and the creepy stalking of that of idols and stuff in Japan. So the general basic story of Perfect Blue, we have a pop idol who is graduating from her pop star role. You know, hey, graduation. So she wants to go on and do more serious roles. In the course of this, she ends up doing some questionable photo shoots and TV appearances. And her stalker, who up until now was basically just a relatively benign presence. You know, he wasn't super awful. Even though he was clearly stalking her, he wasn't, like, doing anything. Now that she started doing these roles, he's like, oh no, you have soiled my image of you. You must pay, sort of thing. And in the process of this, she starts having a breakdown because of she doesn't really want to be doing these creepy roles either. You know, these disgusting photo shoots and pseudo assault scenes either. You know, she wants to be that wholesome pop singer that she used to be. And so her mental struggle starts manifesting in hallucinations and, you know, just really creepy stuff. And eventually it all culminates with, you know, the stalker chasing her down and her having to fight him and all that fun stuff. But the whole path up to that is just portrayed so... Satoshi Kon, if you don't know, does a really good job with mental breakdowns. He did it in Perfect Blue. She Pretty sure. Did it in Perfect Blue. She did it in Paranoia Agent. She did it in Paprika to some extent, even though I haven't seen that one. This is their bread and butter. And with a movie this well animated and a story told this well, I really think this deserves, even though it is a movie and not a show, it deserves to be in that spot of like, other things should aspire to be this way.
That's fair.
No, definitely. So one of the more horrifying things about the world is how people can treat each other. And how off the absolute deep end.
Oh yeah, her best friend is part of the problem, like edging her on towards this mental breakdown. Who she thought was her best friend.
Yes, and the way that, as we pointed out with the earlier ones, isolation can really start to affect you. People are, by definition, shaped and molded by the people around us. We are always looking for action and reaction from the people around us to give us our feedback. Heck, that's what we do on the show. We give our feedback so that other people can see, our opinions of it.
But she gets slowly more and more isolated as the show.
The more isolated she gets, the more inside her own head she gets, the worse that she gets, and the more that her stalker can get to her. In terms of mental effect. And so the spiral downwards, and just again the parasocial relationship of people with their idols,
their pop idols,
and anyone that they see as a slight celebrity, the people that they admire from afar and can't interact with directly, but form that seemingly that entirely one-sided but seemingly reciprocated bond, because they're singing to me. It's me that's their fan, and I can appreciate them, they can appreciate me. I must mean something to them. That same, again, parasocial relationship can drive people.
So the
strange lengths.
Yeah, and it's exacerbated because early on, he saves her from somebody else, right? And even though he's got this horribly ugly face, she smiles at him because he saved her, right? She's glad that he did that, and that instantly makes him feel like they have the bond, a deeper bond than just a fan and an idol, and that's where it all starts to go wrong. But she thought he was just being a nice person, and she was smiling at him to be nice. It's this, truly a great example of stalker behavior.
Yes, it is. So, what were your honorable mentions for this one? Did you have any? It's a small kind of genre.
I didn't. I mean, aside from Ajin, I didn't really. I thought about Housing Complex C, but it had such an unsatisfying ending that I couldn't.
You mentioned Junji Ito.
Junji Ito Maniac. I haven't watched Uzumaki yet, so I can't say anything about that.
No, I can't say anything about Uzumaki. But it's a small genre, so the honorable mentions are going to be pretty much just the other ones in the genre.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them that I haven't seen again.
All right.
That may not even be horror, that were just lumped in there anyway. It's really not a surprisingly large group or category.
Yeah, I have to agree with your choices.
Right.
Cool. Should we move on to Thaylien's second group?
Yes, isekai. I'm going to see if I can blow through these quickly, because isekai is a very broad but very shallow genre. So there are the three pillars that I would go with. First being Mushoku Tensei. One of the best isekai out there. Not specifically because of its superbly told story or anything, because let's face it, it is an older isekai in terms of the manga, and it's one that many shows have based themselves off as well. It tells the story of a protagonist that had no life in the previous world and brings his trauma into his new one, and uses that to become better in this next world. He uses his experiences to become stronger than people around him in this world, picking up tricks and techniques that make him an incredibly powerful mage before in a state when many people would just be learning. Excuse me. And so it's almost the template of the overpowered isekai protagonist. But the fact is that there are people stronger than him out there. It's almost that. But there's also the fact that there is the lecherous nature of Rudy, which, given that he is an older man in a kid's body, can be seen as very creepy, but is played for laughs, and it's played for the comedy. And it's only once he starts growing up a bit and has experience and settled into his new life and more becomes rudious than the person he was, that anything like that actually goes anywhere. And it takes a whole 2 seasons to get to that point. So the show is a concentrated version of all of the different things that an isekai can really contain. They bring in elements of Guild of Adventurers when they go through the Demon Continent. They bring in the magic and the sword and sorcery, with Paul, his father, being a swordsman and the others being mages, being trained by Roxy as a mage, where they bring in the idea of ranks of people with your ability to cast certain spells makes you a different class of mage, but also going up and doing quests in the Adventurers Guilds can bring your team up the ranks of adventurers. They explore the fantasy races side of things, with elves, with beastmen, with demons, with with those demons just being another type of people. They explore fantasy tropes like some of the kids from the monarchy being born with magical gifts, like our boy that just suddenly has insane strength, but he's a nerd, so he doesn't use it because he's born with a magically strong body. It's a whole plethora of fantasy, but topped with this simple narrative running through of this is a person that was intensely broken in his former life, trying to make the best that he can out of his new life. And beautifully done, beautifully executed, with the animation being absolutely clean, the wonderful intros we got from the first season, showing you the world around you.
I think it helps that it's not just about our main character, right? All the characters feel like real fleshed out individuals with their own wants and desires and goals. And yes, he has his own, and yes, we are mainly focused on him, and we're seeing all those other things through him. But they still exist, unlike with so many other shows where it's just like, I'll do whatever you want to do, main character. Please tell me, please guide me. Let me be in your harem, No,
that's exactly it. See, one of the amazing things is this is a story told entirely from Rudius's point of view. Nothing we learn about happens unless Rudius learns about it later. We see, say, when they're looking for him and Roxy walks through the same city that he does, we only know she's doing that because Roxy tells him about it later.
Yeah.
We the audience see it, but the only reason we know about it is because Roxy tells them she was in that city and they just missed each other. We don't know anything about what's happening to the redhead. What's her name?
Eris.
Eris. We don't know anything about what's happening to her apart from the thing that gets told to Rudy by another character who met her. So there's a bit of an interaction. It's a fantastic. So that storytelling method gives us a very broad way of interacting with all the characters. Specifically, we learn about what's relevant to the main character, but exploring through how it's relevant as well. So, great start to any kind of isekai genre is Mushoku Tensei. It's an older manga brought forward to be a newer anime in the 2020s. absolutely worth
Although
being
I would say
fillers.
season 1 is better than season 2, but personal choice.
I don't know. Season 2, part 2. Jeez.
My next one is much smaller. It's Handyman Saitou. And Handyman Saitou is a classic isekai of a man with a rather normal dead life being brought into a fantasy world after being hit by a truck. It's as simple as it gets, really. And the thing is, this is the anti-power fantasy isekai. Mm-hmm. He only comes through with exactly what he brought with him, which is his overalls, a few tools, and his knowledge as a handyman.
His wits.
And finding his place among these different adventurers, the fantasy world where he can't do magic, but he can remember magic spells to help out the guy that can do magic but forgets his spells. He can't swing a sword, but he can make better armor for the woman that can swing a sword, even to the point of having like quick release armor that can make her lighter in a fight, and when she needs speed. He can't he's not a thief, but he can pick locks because he's also a locksmith, and so he knows how to work locks and those inner mechanisms, and so he finds his place as a trap diffuser as well. He can't
make his tools, but he can describe to somebody how they should be made.
Yes, exactly. He understands enough about the principles of things to find a place in this world, and that makes him a wonderfully relatable character, because we've all seen the fantasies where we get a magic power, and that's really unrelatable because it's out there, it's huge, it's magical, and how are we going to relate to that? This is such a smaller scale anime where it almost plays off the first few episodes like a 4-comma that's been made into, there's 4-panel comics that's been made into a show, but then picks up broader themes as you go on. And it tells multiple stories with the other characters. You find characters that only come into Saitou's story much later on, and how they got there is especially important to how he reacts to them. A man who falls in love with an immortal witch and gets banished to the demon realm in that act, and fights his way through the demon realm and becomes a leader of demons because of it, to be able to return to the earth, just to find her, only to find that she fell in love with him too, and that broke her immortality. And now she's aging and needs healing. It's these stories all going around and tying into Saitou's story towards the end of the season are beautifully told. Even if they're simple comedy, like the wizard with the enormous staff.
Weirdly, this world feels much more shallow than Mushoku Tensei.
Yes.
Like, it's just them around this one dungeon area in the world, and that's pretty much it.
Correct.
I agree with where you're coming from, Nasuth, but it's had a quarter of the episodes.
Oh, sure. I'm not holding this against it. I still love Saitou. I think it's interesting that there's that contrast, though. That Mushoku Tensei is this really deep world where they take a lot of time and really slowly go through things. And in this one, it's much more bite-sized and faster paced, but it's still really good in a lot of ways.
Well, I'd argue, if you were to look at the comparison, Mushoku Tensei doesn't have that diverse a cast, right? It will slowly introduce new characters after several episodes have passed with the previous character, right?
Sure.
And they even subtract characters from the situation to bring new characters in. But with Saitou, they don't spend the time on the world and things. They spend it solely on the characters that they've already established, while still introducing more right? It doesn't matter about what the interior of the castle looks like, because that's not the interesting part. It's the characters that they're interesting part. It doesn't matter what the town looks like. It's not about the town, it's about the characters. And I agree with you. Personally, I would rate Mushoku Tensei above Handyman Saitou.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to be
I do as well.
Yeah.
No, but this is the other side of it. Where there's a show that, within Mushoku Tensei, explored its world completely and gave you all these elements. Handyman Saitou is a little bit of a deconstruction of it by having this much smaller scale story, much smaller scale world, but still filling it up with people that are fun to look at and fun to react to.
Simplistic, but not simple.
Yeah.
Yes. Characters without being caricatures.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get to the actual deconstruction of it, which is KonoSuba. And KonoSuba is just de facto the best break it all down and make it funny version of an isekai. It really is.
May I interject? To me personally, I feel KonoSuba isn't a breakdown, but is more, let's take every other isekai that exists, every other generic piece of garbage, every isekai cheat magician, every black summoner, every what's called weakest mage crest garbage, right? And just play it for laughs, right? Just play it for
that's exactly what it is. And that's why I say it's a deconstruction of, because it takes these tropes and it then plays them as stupid as they should be.
Yeah, it's parody, it's satire.
It's a parody, 100%. It's a satire. It is. You get given the ability to pick your special power, which is something that they went really far into with the Assassin Reborn as a nobleman one.
Yeah.
They went really into how he could pick one ability from each ranking, and that some of them would be more useful than others, and he finds ones that he thinks would combo well together. And he says, well, okay, I'm not going to take a power, I'm going to take the goddess, but the goddess turns out to be useless.
Yeah.
Mostly. She has one or two uses, but she is a...
I mean, like...
the whole...
If anyone has ever played Dungeons and Dragons before, right, at some point in time in your group, it's gonna fall into antics, right? Someone does something stupid, right?
Shenanigans.
That's what KonoSuba is, right? It's basically, it's a bunch of min-maxers that are too stupid to actually play the game properly and get themselves into more trouble. The DM's like, I've seen this before, right? Doing this, cause like I think the perfect example of why KonoSuba is just so brilliant is when Darkness was cursed, and in order to cure her curse, they had to go fight. I can never remember the bloody names. I think it's Verdi. I always say everyone's bloody Verdi. It's the Doulahan. So one of the generals of the Demon Lord, Demon King, whatever. So he says, if you want to cure her curse, you'll have to come fight me. Mwah! And then rides off into the sunset, right?
And then
it turns out that...
Aqua just purifies the curse. It's just like...
But also it turns out that Megumin's been blowing up his castle for the entire time as well.
Well, no. That's besides the point. But the fact is, like, why didn't you come find me? Your friend's dead now. It's like, no, my friend's right there. The cure and the curse was purified. There's no reason to come fight you. I loved it. It's brilliant.
Yes, but it's also one of those things where they take the harem trope. You've got the mage girl, you've got the goddess, you've got the paladin, and except all three of them are terrible.
Oh god, they are the worst.
They are the worst.
They
the only good one. I mean, even the ones where they build them as the good ones. Union just is too young, and is it Wiz?
Wiz.
She's Wiz. She's she's an undead, and so gets purified by Aqua all the time.
Yep. And is an idiot.
Yes, and she is an idiot, but at
and
the same
Chris
time, she's the right kind. She's the right kind of idiot. She's the one that
Megaman is the right
get
girl
along
for him,
with really well.
Oh no,
Except
like
she's no. Far too young.
they're all fundamentally flawed. Every single one of the characters, and I think that's what works with them. They're all fundamentally flawed in different ways.
I think the whole thing that sets off this entire show is that because he put his points into his luck stat, his unusually high luck stat, so that he could use skill-based stuff, is what he said. But then he learned how to use steel. Okay, first thing he steals his panties, but then the bit that really goes is there's another guy that's come from another world and took the hero's sword, and Kazuma steals the sword using his steel power, and then rather than doing anything else with it, he sells it for money, and the guy has to go track it down and buy it back.
I don't know if he did manage to succeed though.
No, he did, and because Kazuma steals it a second time.
Oh my god.
In the show, and I love that that's the response. You've got this guy who's obviously a real hero, in quotes, with the sword that can destroy evil, and he's off to go on his quest. And Kazuma's reaction to him is steal.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sell that off for money. It's good.
Such a ridiculous show.
Now my honourable mentions for this were Rising of the Shield Hero for season 1 specifically.
Exclusively.
Yes. ReZero, even though I couldn't get into the show, it is a long-running show with some great topics in there and great characters.
Season 1 is by far the hardest to watch. I know they did a director's cut that chopped out like half of season 1. Half of it, they chopped it out.
And my final honourable mention is Reborn as a Vending Machine, because it just shows how bizarre isekai gets.
Oh, fuck off.
It's just an honourable mention.
Reincarnated as a sword was clearly better.
Yeah, better, but not as off the wall insane.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, so all right, and let's finish this off. Xeno, your last one.
Okay. So, Made in Abyss. That so fantasy picks. I feel that Made in Abyss did for world building what Handyman Saitou did for character development. Made in Abyss's world is so...
Don't discount the character building in this show either.
Oh, of course, right? But the world is so tantalizing, comprehending and understanding every aspect of how this world functions is just... Holy crap. Basically, you think to yourself that... I genuinely can't think of another world that is as character defining as the one in Made in Abyss. Can you think of anything that comes close to the Abyss in terms of being its own character? If I'm making any sense.
That you will always have to keep exploring something. You will always find something new down. I mean,
if I sat down and thought about it for a while, I might be able to come up with something. But
still, it's like
the only one that I can think of, and it's not as good an example, but it is the one with as much possibility, is the Grand Line and New World from One Piece.
Fair enough.
Because it's an isolated space where everything they go to is a new experience and more strange by the time they get there.
I would argue that one of the best elements... So, I've had this conversation with Loz a non-zero number of times, and some of the best stuff that we have enjoyed about things like Lord of the Rings and stuff is whenever someone goes to the extent of drawing a map to their world, right? And sure enough, Main and Abyss has a map that explains like the different layers of the Abyss. And it is absolutely incredible. First off, don't watch the first season. Watch the first 3 movies. The first season is the first 2 movies? Or is it the first movie and a half?
First 2 movies.
Yes, the first 2 movies. The first season is the first 2 movies. The third movie is not in any of the seasons. So you do need to watch that. And then it's season 2, right? So... Which is brutal. Season 2 is brutal. I mean, if you think season 1 is rough, season 2 is just holy crap. The interesting way of describing this is basically the the world is effectively a Souls-like a Soulsborne narrative, but as if it was colored in by 3-year-olds. So it's all bright colors and everything. So it all looks happy.
Yes.
Right? But shit's gonna fuck you up. Right?
Season 2 of Made in Abyss is, and I will warn everybody, okay, it is how much can you put a character through? How much can you put the audience through because of those characters? And it is a slog of emotional drain.
Yeah.
But you will feel so much more accomplished having watched this than having watched a real emotional drain throw like Evangelion.
I'd also argue that
that's the bad kind of emotional drain.
Nasuth, did we watch the series or did we watch the movies or did we do both?
We watched the series and then the third movie. I don't think we watched the first 2 movies.
Right, because, like, in all honesty, watching the series, the first season, it gets boring.
It is slow.
It is
especially
slow
the first half. Like the second half of season 1 is pretty good because that's when they're down in the abyss doing things. But when they're on the surface, it is very slow.
Well, they're only on the surface for like a couple of episodes, but even then, it's like until they get to layer 4, not really anything happens. But that's not until like halfway through the series. So it's like, you know, they spend too much time looking at like the different layers of grass and like, you know, they're really trying to introduce the audience to the idea of the abyss, because it is kind of a strange concept that you've just got this hole and inside of it it's almost like you're going to different worlds. Each layer is almost like its own world. And again, it doesn't even feel like it's underneath our world. It feels like you were literally going to a different dimension in a way. Yeah, it's like, you know, if you want a comparison, it's like you go through a Stargate and like, you know, I'm in a completely new place, right? But one of the really interesting parts of Main Abyss is how much effort they've got, right? So the abyss is this vertical shaft, right? It is miles in diameter, right? It is absolutely fucking massive. Civilization has built a city around the edge, not the complete edge. It's only part of it, isn't it? You know, they've built
I think it is
around.
The full edge.
Is it? It goes all the way around?
It may be.
I can't remember. Regardless, you know, they've built a city around the edge of the mouth, you know, of the opening. And it's like, naturally, light wouldn't be able to get all the way down there. Except for, there's something going weird with the physics that actually makes the light go down further. And they've actually acknowledged this. The light shouldn't be able to get as far down as it does.
I mean, there shouldn't be... When you get to the Golden City, it's got its own sun, essentially. It's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
no, it's a really good choice.
Yes. Moving on to my next one is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I don't think I need to go into too much detail as to why Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is so fucking good. But I think, again, do you know what this has? So much
thought put into the world and the characters.
It has a map. It has a map. Like they, and
real
again,
like
The original Fullmetal Alchemist, which was released I think in 2002, was absolute dog shite in comparison to Brotherhood, right? Brotherhood is leagues better. Even though a lot of the time you feel like I can tell where this is going, the character performance, the journey that they're going on, everything they are achieving is just like, this is just an incredible journey, right? And when you get like the odd twist in direction, like one of the things that really surprised me in terms of a narrative was the fact that you had citizens from another country across this gigantic desert just turning up, trying to interfere with the narrative. It was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely incredible. And yeah, so, you know, I mean,
there's a reason that Fullmetal Alchemist stayed at the top of the anime rankings for so long, and it's because it is so much of a complete package in terms of what it offers, the character progression, story it tells.
And again, it has very believable goals. Like, these kids initially want to bring their mother back. What kid wouldn't, I mean, assuming that they had a good childhood with their family, wouldn't want to bring their mother back, you know? And then the goal becomes, I want to get my brother's body back. And in the course of this, they get caught up in these events that are so much bigger than they are, and yet they're the only ones that can really rise to the challenge in the end. And it ends up being connected to them, you know, in so many ways that they don't know, that get revealed. And you've even got some of the body horror of the fact that they can, like, change their, you know, Ed can change parts of his arm, that he's, you know, his mechanical arm. Alphonse isn't really alive. He's in his, you know, his soul is tied to the suit of armor. Yes. The fact that their father they have a body double of their father.
That's not getting into spoilers. What impresses me about it is that each step seems very manageable in turn. So in order to they start learning alchemy for that. Yes. So in order to get the influence and position they need to go off and investigate how to get Alphonse's body back, Ed goes to become a state alchemist. And so that puts him into this situation where he's being ordered to do things by the state. And so he then has to fulfill these roles and go through the next step and the next step and go up through that progression until he uncovers the larger scheme that's going on, and then has to progress on to dealing with that. You know, and
even the things we learn about our bad guys and the way they interact, and you know, there's just so much.
I was not expecting many of the bad guys to be so relatable, whereas others are just straight up evil.
One of the things
you're supposed to think they're one note, but they aren't.
Yes.
One thing that I really don't like about the series, actually, it's probably like the only thing I don't like about the series, and it has sat on my mind a non-zero amount of time, was why does Ed not wear the same uniform as any of the other people that he works with? Like, I don't get it. Like, I'm fine with a variation, like, you know, he wears... Huh?
Special dispensation.
Yep.
Anyway, right. Then my last one, which should be bloody obvious to everyone, is Frieren Beyond Journey's End.
Who could have imagined?
This
is you know, the thing that dethroned Fullmetal Alchemist, right? The show that dethroned FMA Brotherhood as #1 anime according to my anime list. And I feel that the best reason why Frieren deserves to be a pillar is because you see the aftermath of the hero's journey, right? You know, this is so. You know, we've done episodes of Kanpai Cast where we talk about the hero's journey and things. This is beyond the hero's journey, right? This is, well, now what? Do we go on another adventure? What do we do? And I love that about it. It has such an intricate world. I don't think the world is as well mapped out as it is in, you know, Fullmetal Alchemist or Made in Abyss. But you do see the progression that our band of adventurers go on. It's incredible. Every character, even the no-name side characters that are there for an episode, have more thought put into their backstory and everything than pretty much every other
isekai
anime
main character.
Huh?
Than most isekai main characters.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, you know, the backstory of some old guy sat in a village in Frieren has more thought and consideration than all of Ainzul Gon in Overlord, right? What's Ainz's backstory? He used to have a life, and then he became stuck in a video game. The end.
Then he played video games too much.
And then, you know,
So
that's all we got.
What genuinely impresses me is how we progress the sense of the passage of time. Okay, now that is something that really, really matters in Frieren, because when you start out, we're seeing it from Frieren's perspective, where a decade of travel on the road really doesn't mean much to her. Yeah. You know, and she doesn't care about the, you know, in the same way that we would care about people we spent 10 years with. She doesn't care about people in that same way. She's seeing them as friends, yes. But they go on this massive journey, and it changed the other three completely, you know, in the way they look at the world. But Frieren was just like, oh yeah, there's kind of more of the same for me, you know. Yeah. And then they go their separate ways, and she comes back in 50 years, like it's nothing, and is almost surprised to see that they've aged. You know, to see that they've aged and see that Himmel is, you know, is old and is unfortunately in his final years. You know,
because she just doesn't realize
they go through
50 years, or what 50 years means to other people.
No, 50 years exactly. And then it's only once you get past that point, once you start seeing how the next passage of time is 17 years before she goes back to talk to Heiter again and meets young Fern.
No, it's less than that.
No, it's less than that. Because
I did
it's only about 10 years or so.
So I did try to work it out.
But it's a good few years, but it's a shorter time than 50 years by a long way. And she just thinks that she's like being on a casual stroll and comes back, and Heiter's now in his final years, which is surprising because he was the drunk that should have died, you know, of liver failure long before.
Sorry to interrupt. One of the things that really inspires me about the whole show is we have an elf character who, let's face it, when she was introduced to Himmel, Heiter, and Eisen?
Yes.
Yeah. They, you know, she thought like, you're just children. You're off playing adventure. And her growing infatuation with the life lessons that Himmel was teaching her was, you know, incredible. And like, you know, she carries these life lessons beyond, right?
This is, again, I feel this is reflected in how the time has passed. So she meets young Fern, then there's like one episode, and she's been training her for years until she's good enough to.
It's sort of like an allegory.
He stayed there long enough to translate that book, didn't she?
Yeah, 6 months.
I thought it was 6 months. So he's trained her for 6 months, but she then progresses for years with her until she's a teenager. Okay, over the time that's progressing later.
Yep.
And it's only once you reach that point that the progression of time slows down even more. So, like, another 6 months in one place, another 3 months in the next place, and then it's almost on a week-to-week basis. And the real test of that is when they're locked, they're trapped in the cabin in the snow, and they spend one winter there, and then you've really experienced how they're trying to spend the time and how it's dragging on.
Yeah.
And after that point, time progresses normally. Okay? So you have breaks for travel into a place, but once they get there, the time they spend there seems to have, normal waiting for a normal adventure. It's because she's experiencing the time, learning the lessons that Himmel gave her.
Yeah.
And it's allowing her to feel it the way that we would feel it.
You even have instances, like, really early on in Fern and Frieren's journeys, they've got to clean up a beach because all the ships that have accidentally sunk.
3 months.
Was it? No, I thought it was like 3 weeks.
Something like that. But they had something 3, but I thought it was 3 months before a festival was starting for this particular thing.
Maybe it was 3 months. But, like, again, Fern was like, why are we wasting our time here? And again, so she is sort of repeating the lessons because they have just burnt so much of an impression in Frieren's being, and I love that. I absolutely love all about that. A friend of mine, I introduced Frieren. Like, I kept on saying, like, come on, you gotta watch Frieren. Trust me, you're going to love it. And a lot of the time, I've stopped hyping up anything to them because, I get it. Like, when someone says, "Oh, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best," it burns you out massively.
Yes.
Right.
And it also, when you don't enjoy it as if it's the best, it feels like you've been cheated.
Yeah. And then we were, I think it was like 10 episodes away from the end, or 9 episodes away from the end, this past weekend, and we just burned through the whole lot. And it's just like, that was amazing. I want more. I need more now.
Yes.
Lol.
Right.
It's kind of an allegory for people who, like, live their lives isolated and cut off from everyone, and every day is kind of the same, so it all just blends together, and then you meet that one friend group that just breaks everything.
Nasuth, I didn't realize you had finished Frieren.
I haven't.
Then your point is invalidated. How dare you? Right,
but it's true, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so I completely agree with the choices.
Gosh.
But what were your honourable mentions for this?
Oh God! Right, let's.
It's all right. You can call me Thaylien.
No, shush you. Right. Again, part of the problem is when you look at fantasy, so many of these are just isekais, and like, no. Why is Attack on Titan on here again? Why is Chainsaw Man on here? I don't bloody get it.
Well, technically it is an urban fantasy.
Give me the movie and give me a season, then I'll consider it. Delicious in Dungeon would be an honorable mention.
Yes.
Ranking of Kings would be an honorable mention. And Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
Okay.
That was so close to being on the list. Like, I would have put Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, but I feel that the world building in Made in Abyss beats it.
And you still haven't finished season 2. We'll get there. We'll get there someday.
Because of you.
We'll get there someday. Right. So for my sci-fi, they're all bangers, but let's start with Planets. The thing I love about this one is how, like, this is some hard sci-fi when you get down to it. Yes, the focus is more on the characters, and that's great. I love that. But the actual science behind the space junk problem is 100% legitimate, and they show it so well in this. Where, like, you know, there's at least one major accident. I'm pretty sure there are two, but there's at least one major accident where you see, like, just a single screw going at such fast speeds because it's in space that when it hits a ship, it just blows the whole thing up. And that is so accurate because of these relativistic speeds that you get in space, where, you know, you may not think you're moving that fast, you know, if you're in geosync orbit, or near to it, because then the Earth is so big that it seems like you're barely moving along it. But the fact is that, you know, at the equator, the tangential velocity of the Earth is like 1,000 miles an hour, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
And think of something moving that fast hitting you in the forehead. You know, your head is just gone.
Yeah.
Probably the rest of your room, too. Yeah. Maybe the rest of your house.
And that's not even counting that the Earth itself is orbiting at like 30 miles a second.
Yes. Yep. Well, I mean, we're
around the sun.
Something like that, yeah. It is incredible. And the way Planet S handles the space debris salvage and the care and delicacy they have to put into it, they have to, like, match the speed of these things in order to properly salvage them without, you know, getting wrecked,
killing themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to worry about things like deceleration and changing course, you know, orientations, and all this stuff is just and obviously on top of that, you've still got the personal dramas and the interpersonal relationships and the comedy, and, you know, of being in a workplace together with these people day in and day out. You know, this is kind of akin to a fishing boat where, you know, you go out for months at a time, or at least weeks at a time, you know, and you're stuck in a tiny room with the same group of people day in and day out.
Deep sea trawler life.
Yeah, exactly.
But with very tiny fish.
I mean, I think that they have two types of salvage, which I think is one of the most interesting aspects of the whole thing. One of which is if the debris is small enough, we will.
Send it to Earth.
No. I thought it was if it's small enough, they'll collect it and remove it.
Right.
But if it's too big, they can't tow it or anything like that. They basically push it into Earth's gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's like all the maths. But again, like one of the things,
the equivalent of kicking the ice cubes under the fridge when they accidentally drop out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god! Right. One of the things that I really liked this was how much it challenged your perception on what life would be like in space. Like,
we not all a Star Trek utopia.
Yeah, we all love the idea of Cowboy Bebop and like, oh, I could just walk around in my cool civilian clothes, haha, and just drive my spaceship like a motorbike, haha. But, you know, again, this one, there was such controversy on, again, I want to say Twitter, when, you know, for some strange reason, this came back up decades after.
I bet it was Elon Musk putting his car into orbit, because essentially that's just space junk.
Possibly. It was around that time. But again, like, so there was this huge controversy, like why Twitter was hating on Planet S, and it was because the 12-year-old girl who had grown into a full-blown adult, because she was stuck living on the moon. And people are like, this is like, you know, but this is challenging your preconceptions of you could have a normal life in space. You can't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, low gravity makes humans grow taller.
Not just that, but also the Hilariously, The Expanse would have you believe the other way around, but regardless. What was the other side of this? So there's that preconception. Damn it, you fucking threw me.
Is it that she's stuck there? So like on Earth, sometimes you can't move out of a town because you're just stuck. You don't have the resources to get out of it.
No, it's not just that. It basically was her immune system can't cope if she went onto Earth and things like that.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because again, if she hasn't been. Space is a relatively sterile environment. If she hasn't been exposed to, all the things that a normal child gets exposed to on Earth, then that'd be terrible.
But it's oh, sorry, I remember. It's like so again, like in oh fuck, what's the International Space Station, right?
Yes.
Like crying is a huge problem.
Oh yeah.
Right? In space, you can go blind, right, from crying in space, and this is like people just take it for granted that
because the tear ducts rely on gravity to get the tear out of your eye.
Yeah, and if it's just floating around, because it will just gravitate to your eyeball, you have to be really bloody careful.
Find too much moisture all over your eye.
Yep.
Yeah. There was an experiment. Somebody tried wringing out a cloth in space, and the water just flowed up his arm like the T-1000.
Even some of your blood flow relies on gravity to work properly. You can still get you can still be all right, but you're gonna eventually if you stay there too long, you could find issues.
Yeah, and what didn't we have this thing recently where they sent people commercially to like the International Space Station or something, and they couldn't get them back there for 8 months.
I think they're back now. I think Elon managed to get a Dragon capsule there or something. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
Yes.
Right.
Sorry.
So.
Love this book.
Oh God, which one do I want to save for last? I think I'm gonna have to do Steins Gate next.
Okay.
So it's tough picking, but Steins Gate is what kind of happens when you get with something pretending to be hard sci-fi, but interjects some pretty heavy, not fantasy exactly, but fiction. It really leans heavily on the fiction part of the science fiction.
Science fiction,
of course.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's totally wonderful. I love that too. Otherwise, this wouldn't be here. But the way they handle it still feels like hard sci-fi. They spend time explaining what CERN is doing and how the time travel works. Yes, go ahead.
So to me, this is like the kids in Stranger Things, right?
Yeah.
They are kids fucking around with the Large Hadron Collider.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very, very much so. Where are the adults in Stranger Things? There should be at least several shotguns in Stranger Things, right? But there aren't. There just aren't, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, this is. I would totally agree with that sentiment of that they are mucking around with things that are bigger than themselves.
Yeah. But you've got these incredible characters who are all. I mean, Thaylien plays the fool, but there's more to him than just that. Kurisu? The redhead. I can't believe I remembered that. She plays the tsundere, but again, she's deeper than that. There's more to her.
Yeah.
All these characters have rich, development through the show, and again, it's anytime they do that, it always makes for a good show. But
oddly enough, Kurisu is one of the I find better achieving female protagonists in anime. She is well thought out as a scientific character. She's not there as
Thaylien the goofball, and she's
bait.
She's there to be the reasonable voice. That's like, why are you such a crazy man?
Yeah. And like again,
and also be wifey bait.
Yeah, but again, she talks about things like 2chan and which is a real thing. And Dr. Pepper and all sorts of she basically became the spokesmodel for Dr. Pepper. It's hilarious.
The same way
I feel bad,
for
why
Pizza Hut.
Because in all this time, I have never once considered that Dr. Pepper might be a female doctor.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think Dr. Pepper's a drink, but that's besides the point.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's named for somebody.
Same way that
it's Dr.
the
Pepper's
Pringles man
tonic.
is definitely a man.
Dr. Pepper comes from the day when they just discovered carbonation and they were selling them as selling those drinks as health tonics.
Really, didn't know that.
Literally.
Random side.
That's why Coca-Cola had cocaine in it.
It sure did. Anyway,
because it was considered healthy.
Great show. Great use of at least scientific jargon. It's incredible. I still haven't watched the movie. I need to watch the movie.
It's also just like the mystery behind it as well was really, really well constructed.
Yeah. It really isn't the sci-fi, but it is a good show in general.
Yeah, I love it.
And then the last one, because we can't talk about sci-fi without talking about the biggest show of the 2020s, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Which
indeed.
Yeah.
These
everything about
dripping
with sci-fi everywhere. I mean, it's hard to do Cyberpunk
and
without being
style.
dripping. Yes.
I like if you haven't watched Cyberpunk Edgerunners, you are missing out. Like
you don't have to play
I
the
argue,
game. You don't have to know anything about the Cyberpunk universe. Or in the role playing system.
It does help.
It does help. But
I'd argue anime of 2022.
Yep.
It was fucking fantastic.
And again, it's not just the science fiction. It's not just the mechanics. It's not just the world building. It's not just the character development. It is all of those things working together, meshing, blend. One of them feeds into the next, and
even the character development has character mirrors with somebody else on the opposite side, where there'll be development in two characters that they share an aspect, but they're contrasting people.
Yes.
So and they what you call it it doesn't pull its punches.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, you get so many shows in okay, here's right. Try not to spoil anything. What plot armor?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
This is
I can't
Shakespearean in the amount of characters that do not finish this thing alive. It chokes me up a little bit.
I still can't listen to that song.
Listen to that fucking song.
I can listen to it, but I can't listen to it without getting a little choked up.
Yeah.
So after, if you don't know, after Edgerunners came out, 2077 had a huge boom in activity on the internet, right? So Steam, all of a sudden, 2077 rocketed up the Steam charts. Because by that point in time, they had fixed a lot of the game's issues, right?
We even ran a one-shot D&D campaign style in the Cyberpunk Red system, didn't we?
In the system, yeah. It was Ghost in the Shell themed, but it was utterly fantastic. Where when I discovered what channel, right, that song was on, right, that's the channel that I leave all my vehicles on, right, and
the radio channel,
and then when I'm like riding around on my motorbike and that song comes on, I'm not doing the mission anymore. I'm listening to this song, feeling things.
Yes,
I am preoccupied.
Sit back. I am feeling.
But even though the technology is way ahead of anything we have, you sort of get to that point where any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, but they do such a good job of making it feel realistic, like it could actually happen. It's it's I like that it does still feel grounded. It doesn't just go like something like Metallic Rouge goes a little too far into
the fantasy sort of sci-fi. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't have a whole bunch of. I mean, if you haven't watched it, go watch it.
Yeah, the only time that music and a video game have interacted this well is when somebody made a orchestral version of the big ending song from Undertale, which I played, I loved. I went through the entire pacifist route and never went back and tried to do the the other route because I could not ruin those characters' lives. And so that ending scene, his theme is what it's called. They did that as an orchestral, and to this day, hearing the opening bars of that gives me a little bit of misty eye because of the feelings from that game. And the same thing happens with that song in Edgerunners, because specifically they took a song that was in the game and they made it the theme song of the emotional moments from this series, and it hits every time.
Right. Do you have any honorable mentions, Nasuth?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got pretty much every Ghost in the Shell.
Fair
enough.
Even though Metallic Rouge goes a little into the fantasy side of things, I'd still say that works. Really just a ton. There's probably too many to mention.
Pick one more.
Gosh, I don't know.
Which from Mercury?
Yeah.
Mecha.
Gundam would work.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboy Bebop, yeah, definitely Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
The staying power of Cowboy Bebop versus any single Gundam series.
Yeah.
I think nudges it to the top.
Fair enough.
Exactly. So, in conclusion, what we've learned from this is that I need to be put on a timer much sooner.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and oddly enough, we all picked stuff where I think the characters were all grounded in a more detailed reality than, apart from maybe Cyberpunk Edgerunners, maybe. But
but their motivations are very grounded and realistic and relatable.
Yeah. But anyway, right, let's move on with the rest of the show. Oh, we'll also point out that, for honorable mentions for sci-fi, Naz didn't say Evangelion, so...
oh, damn it! Oh. Attack on Titan, runner-up for sci-fi.
God, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't there. Right, so moving on to the supporter questions. Right, Zrugel asks, did you enjoy this episode? Well, there is a quick, easy, and surefire way to let us know. Hit the like button and leave a comment down below. Zrugel asks, why are the old 10 o'clock episodes now private? Because it was massively fucking up my...
the algorithm.
So... It is crazy how much Faulty Frame Squad, Tactical Terror League, and all that stuff is suppressing all my anime content, even though it was made God knows how many years ago.
I keep getting recommended stuff from 8 years ago. If I watch anything from a channel, it recommends me their 8-year-old stuff.
Yeah, so. A part of me is even tempted to unlist those shows, but I had to turn them off because new users were being shown the Xenocodex stuff, none of the anime related stuff, and it was just that's what I'm trying to...
Are they just unlisted, or are they actually private?
I can't remember. Okay. They are either private or unlisted. I really just can't remember.
Is it possible to make a private playlist or an unlisted playlist and then maybe post that somewhere in your Discord?
Potentially, yeah, probably. But it'll be difficult because putting
that's
that
a lot
playlist
of episodes.
together is going to be a pain.
Yeah.
And then obviously it moved over to the other channel.
Yeah.
Right. Coffee, You Are What You Drink asks, did you enjoy this episode? Well, there is a short fight.
They didn't ask that.
Nope. He's fucking with you again. Do you want me to read it?
Did this episode... Did you episode this enjoy? Well, there is a surefire and easy quick no to let us weigh. Button that like, hit, and comment a leave below down. I hate you so much.
Mean.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Rick.
Right. Coffee, you are what you drink, also asks, why are live videos not being archived on your channel?
I think they are.
Yeah, the live streams are actually.
But again, there's no playlist for them, so you need the
there
URL.
No. I've been making playlists of the. I'm gonna make an automated way to.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So the Nasuth inside you asks, I enjoy episodes. Do you? Question mark. If the YouTube algorithm was a tsundere, would you date her? Oh no.
Yeah, there's a.
No.
It's more of a yandere, I think.
See.
No, 100% a tsundere. Just constantly bringing up shit from years ago.
Yeah. The problem is that my grandfather gave me some very, very good advice when I was becoming a teenager.
Don't
never stick it in crazy.
Yeah.
Well done. Yes. So, no, I would not date the YouTube algorithm, even if they were a tsundere.
Oh, God. Like, you didn't do this. You didn't create a trailer for Notice Me, Senpai. And like, I did now. Shut up.
You didn't put end cards on this video. I'm going to suppress it.
Yep. God, you get so gaslit by the police.
It's not like I want to advertise your stuff to other people, but you tick the button, so I can't.
Right, so moving on to the comments from last week. First of all, from the news. Strong Butter says, I'll have to make my comments louder so Prospector Xeno can hear.
What?
Can't. Oh, that was because we couldn't.
Yeah, you couldn't hear the intro.
That's because we couldn't hear the intro. That was it. Thank you for reminding who Hideki Arano was during that story. Context helps. Yeah, Nasuth. Right. I think the title lacks a few details. Unless you want to say the...
Oh, it should be a number symbol.
Of Mun.
I don't know why the number symbol didn't show up.
No. It's because the title of the episode was The of Mun. You didn't actually say the shit. What would have been like the 12th of October?
Well, if you go back and look now, it says it says the 13th of October. So I'm pretty sure you have no evidence of that, Strong Butter.
Exactly.
Don't worry, Strong Butter. I have evidence.
Screenshots.
I'll shove it in his face.
It didn't happen.
Right. I'm pretty sure it says in the Discord channel when it announces it. Anyway, so moving on. Zrugal says, really? Henry Cavill is going to be in the live action Voltron? Well then, suddenly I'm interested.
They had my interest, now they have my erection.
Oh my God.
No. Right. Zrugal says...
Sorry, it's too good a line to waste. I can't help it.
That DBZ gaming chair is pretty awesome, not going to lie. But I'm with Nasuth. It's too rich for my blood. Yeah.
I don't like that silent gaming chair, if I'm real honest. I prefer a nice office chair.
Yep. Technically, this is an office chair, so it's
yeah,
lovely office chair. And then Zrugal says, disappointed with that rumor about Kaiju number 8, but it's okay. It still gets a second season, unfortunately.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think Kaiju number 8 is as good as people make it out to be.
Okay.
I much prefer the manga, but they've only covered like 2 volumes of the manga, and it's just like, what the shit is going on? Why are they so slow? Right. Zrugal says, speaking of... Actually, to be fair, the animation is pretty damn good. So, moving on to the comments from the cast. Yeah. Zrugal says, speaking of a hero who reincarnated into his own future, didn't Strongest Sage with the Weakest Crest also do that? Oh, God, it fucking...
Yeah,
yes, that was on our list.
None of us enjoyed that one.
We didn't get to it because,
Right. Ironically, I forgot that everyone in the Big O had amnesia.
Wait, they did?
I didn't even know about it. All right. I think history is really important, so much so that unless they really overload viewers with useless historical facts, I think the more history you have, the better. I don't think you need
more.
more. I think it's just the vague.
You need to just be able to explain maps.
Yeah, maps. You need maps. That's what you need. Screw history. You need maps.
Alternative facts.
Oh my god. Right. I have a question for you guys. Would you be interested in a true historical show? My brain has just died. I mean, a history book, accurate one. And if you can think of any, what are they?
The closest one I can think of, without going into something like actual Shinsengumi era, is probably, honestly, well, the only one that comes to mind right now is probably because I've watched it recently, is TP Bon. And sure, that one's a little on the childish side. It doesn't go super deep into things. But from what I can tell, it was relatively accurate on its history.
There was one general, I believe, from one of the years.
Nobunaga.
Kongming?
No. I'm trying to... It's just the specific. He managed to prevent an invasion of a town by literally sitting outside of it drinking tea and inviting the enemy general to come have tea with him.
I think that was Nobunaga.
Yeah, because it was something like that. And the other guy basically said, he's that confident that he's inviting me to tea. So he's that confident he could win. It's not going to happen. I'm going to withdraw.
It's really interesting because Nobunaga has like a number of adaptations to his stories. One of them including an isekai where a guy goes back in time and it's a gender swap of all the characters, and it's just like not sure why, but it's really funny though, because in Elusive Samurai they basically say Nobunaga gets too many fucking shows. Here, have one about is it Tatsuyuki? I think that's his name. And then moving on to Strom Butters says, though history isn't always divulged at the beginning, a story's history is super important, not only for depth and complexity of the story, but also world building. I think having history for world building is more important than having it impact the narrative, because there's a number of shows where sometimes they fixate so much on historical events that would impact the character, it kind of draws out. There's a brilliant Western one called, I think it was Jupiter Ascending, where it's about like superheroes, and the whole point of the stuff that they spend so much time on, the history of them getting their powers, is completely moot because you see who's still around in the future, and it's just like, what's the fucking point in wasting all this time on this history stuff? Half the show's wasted.
Yep.
So, anyway, you guys had some great examples, but I'd like to add Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Yep. That show had great history for the world. Also, that one is interesting because the non-Brotherhood version had roughly the same history of the world, but wasn't as good.
That is actually interesting.
Point, yes. They did the same setting. They did the same history. They just execute the main story.
Technically, the history is different because because we don't know. Like all the history of the creature in a jar, or whatever it's called, the dwarf in a jar, dwarf in a flask, and the homunculi would be different, and in theory that would all be important.
Like, what was the name of the civilization that was in the middle of the desert? Was I want to say Zanzibar? I can't fucking remember what it's called.
I don't remember.
Yeah, like none of that was in there. None of the history of like the other civilizations was there. I think none of the other... Yeah, there was a lot still missing from the original Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah.
Also, I think Promised Neverland had a pretty compelling history behind it. I remember wondering how the world ended up that way, almost more than what was actually going to happen to the characters. I completely agree. Right, I kind of wish we had the opportunity to have more world exploration for Promised Neverland, but the whole thing was just... It was an encampment. You weren't going to get that.
Yeah.
Forgot I changed my name to add butter or why, but Xeno's reaction was funny. Yep.
Indeed it was.
Yep, he could not believe it was strong butter.
Anyway, moving on.
On to the fun part.
Yep.
It's time for the memes.
It's meme time. Time for memes. As always, we collect most of our memes from Reddit. Not all of them, but most of them. And we source up to 6 memes a week from you, the viewer, which you can submit on our Discord. Links in the description below. They are kindly gathered up for us.
On our website.
Yes, they are all stored on our website, so you can go look at any of them again. Even if Reddit deletes them, they'll still be here.
We still got them.
Yeah. Shall we go ahead and get into it? We got 5 viewer memes this week.
Yay.
Ooh. Tasty.
Oh my god, this one! Oh.
What?
I want to go upstairs?
Go upstairs?
Sure. Do you have protection? Why? Who's there? Who's up there, Chi-Chi? Is he strong?
Oh my god.
Is he strong?
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
The Uwu car.
I don't think the second expression is right, though. Her eyes need to be more lidded.
Yeah, probably.
Shush.
But they're lit up.
Friend, you have failed in your English exam. Me, impossible. Yep. Yep.
Dr. Giro, I watched your fights with a tiny spy robot, including your fight with Vegeta. Goku, did you see my fights on Namek? No, there was enough data to determine how strong you could get. Goku, okay, get in.
Yup.
Brilliant.
I hate Patrick in that one.
What the hell?
The fuck?
I think this is taking the piss out of Blue Lock.
What the fuck? The fuck?
Yeah, I think that's utterly taking the piss out of Blue Lock.
The Broly movies, fucking the fact that he ran forward kicking Piccolo along with him, that was...
I don't know, I feel like that was added in. I don't think
no, I
Piccolo
think
was
there was something in the actual original Broly movie where he ran through Piccolo, but it was only a tiny bit of the scene.
Right,
it was a tiny little bit of animation. So,
but still, better animation than Blue Lock Season 2.
Yes.
Right, on to my memes. Evidence. How do you get that Warframe crossover?
It's a Warframe anime crossover. I'm glad. Yes.
Sailor Moon if it were remade in America today. At last, I found it.
I don't get
I could
this.
see where your brain cell was today.
Yeah.
It's just. Am I right? That's just a shotgun.
It's just a shotgun. Most powerful magic there is. Right, and my last 3 are video memes.
I cast iron. That's a good extension.
This is gonna get us copyright claim for sure.
Slippery little bastard!
Oh. There you go. There you go. That's how that anime ends.
Brilliant.
Oh no.
Wait, did you not know this?
Oh, it's just gonna replay.
Yeah.
I need to turn that off.
Friends are in for the fight of their life, but you won't let them down. The fate of the world depends on it, each sold separately.
Totally lore accurate.
Wow.
Absolutely. The fact they've even got Yajirobe there is really showing things off.
Wow.
Why is his hair a different color
Ashen gold.
to the...
Because I think it's supposed to be Super Saiyan 2. I'm not entirely sure.
Alright, on to Thayliens. Oh god,
An
yes.
orphan, a demon, a coward, and a feral animal hunt. Michael Jackson.
Accurate.
Being
Accurate.
Demon Slayer. Shikanoko Kashitanta. All Shikanoko. Make Thaylien dull boy.
Yep.
Oh no! I almost used this one. It is horrific.
Honestly, yes, but this poor man, this poor guy with the AI finally getting an actual hug in the animation.
And the future is now, old man.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So it's not just the cringe putting the photos in there.
Yeah,
Harley, it's an animal, Harley. You can't. There's no laws against the Pokemon's bad girl.
What the fuck?
Oh, this is off. This is off the back of the whole Typhlosion thing, isn't it? It is.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Well, it's not just Typhlosion. There is there are like 23 of those.
Moving on. Move. There we go.
What?
Hang on. I need to get the full one up. Just need to get the full one up so I can read it. Oh, you're approaching me. Even though I know all the magic in the world, what will you use on me? The gender equality special. The heck is that? Doesn't even sound like math.
Yep.
I see.
Yep.
And this last one is just some special effects from the live action KonoSuba.
Nice.
This is a live action. What the fuck? Okay.
Or somebody doing a fan version of the live action KonoSuba.
Yeah. Cute.
Do you know what is even more fun? Is when Kazuma's running away, he's got a little plushie of the cat.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? Hang on, I need to hang on.
Yep.
I need to. Oh my god, he does have a Chomsky! Okay. That wins this week.
There we go. Alright, so moving on to mine. America, you can't just turn horrific creatures into some kind of cute anime girl. Japan, hold my sake.
The toes hanging out of its mouth. Oh my god.
Yep. And the knee-high socks. Kojima.
Ego no paint, 90%.
Stealth 100.
Yeah.
And your next two are spicy, so you know what that means, viewers at home. Turn off your laptops or close the screens or what have you.
Who would win? The mightiest sadist? The most durable masochist?
They would make beautiful children.
Oh, God. Care to explain this image on your browser, Bell? It's called Henty, and it's art.
Absolute cinema.
Yep.
Oh my god! Is that Boomhauer?
Yeah, Boomhauer is Nanami from JJK.
Or is that supposed to be Hank? And it could be Hank and his wife.
I think that's Peg. That's Peggy.
Yeah, Peggy. Yeah.
Peggy
That's
Hill.
definitely Peggy.
Right, and then my last one.
Uppies! Oh, what have you done?
Ein's all down there.
Yeah, pretty much. Right, okay, so that is it for this episode. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Sticking
Sorry
through for 3
Thaylien.
hours.
Yeah, Thaylien. We should put him on a leash.
I did
much
not
faster.
notice that took up 50 minutes. I'm so sorry.
No. Your first one only took half an hour, right? Because we spent up until 5:30 talking about what it means.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, from the intro, it took the whole thing took 50 minutes.
Yeah. And now it is. Sorry, next week we'll be doing. I'm pretty sure it's next week we're doing the 3-episode rule for autumn 2024. And now
due to some late starting shows.
So many late starting shows. Right. And now it is time to do bottoms up and Kanpai!